serpents, salamanders, and something
Storm
else.
gods.
Storm god. How could I forget? Oh wow, I have an echo. All right, hold on. Let me. This is incredible. I can't believe I'm screwing up. Give me one
How
second.
dare you?
How was that me? Was it me? Oh, it's not my fault, so I won't take fault. What's up, everybody? Another dope episode of Stormwatch. I still have the drum. Oh God. Incredible. Am I still on?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yeah.
clearly.
All right. Jesus. All right. Where was I? Yes, we're on with Stormwatch, episode 7. Having technical difficulties. I apologize to everybody. It's completely my fault and not the fault of Dr. Wizard. He'll delete me if I say it is. Maria, first of all, good evening.
Good evening.
Antoine, how are you, sir?
It's a
I'm
little
doing
good morning.
What's up to everybody in the chat? Thank you for patiently waiting. Glad you are here. Please, while we are here, hit that like button. You want us to help you. Hit the like
And the
button.
subscribe button.
Share the video. Look, here's the problem. I appreciate everybody who's here. We actually had an original link for this that got somehow mysteriously deleted by someone. I don't know who it was, or what entity deleted it, trying to stifle the growth that is Storm. Regardless,
Black Winter.
we had to do a completely new link at the last minute. So a lot of people may not have this link. So please help us out by sharing this video on your social media, because a lot of people may not have had the link. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, welcome. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. All right, Maria, we already gave you a lot of praise for your last issue, which was complete action-packed craziness.
And all the kind words I'm saying with for about 7 right now, it's really heartwarming. I'm really grateful to everyone.
And you had the audacity and unmitigated gall to up the ante even further for the 50th anniversary of Storm. You, sir, are a bad, bad, bad man.
Thank you.
It is the 50th anniversary of Storm's appearance in Giant Size X-Men #1. Considered by all comic collectors of any type of worth of notoriety to be a grail in comic books. First appearance of Storm, first appearance of Colossus, first appearance of Thunderbird, first appearance of Nightcrawler, probably like the third appearance of Wolverine. This is a significant issue, and it's the 50th anniversary of this issue. And you, sir, got to write an ongoing, successful run of Storm.
Yeah.
Successful, yes, exactly. Keyword. And her 50th anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's called respect in the game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. You deserve all the accolades for that, man.
Yeah.
Everyone in the chat, give a salute out to Maria, because the man's killing it in the game. Taking it a step further, moving forward, let's do a recap of where we were last issue.
To make a little reference to the Giant Size X-Men.
Yeah, please.
There are a couple of things I was able to also learn from the approach of the story, and one thing they did specifically in Giant Size X-Men is the X-Men were basically, if I'm not mistaken, all the core X-Men characters were all white Americans, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And for Giant Size X-Men, they're like, you know what if we pick characters from across the globe rather than just having the same set of people? Why don't we pick characters from across the globe? It's exactly what we did with this issue. That we're always seeing, Zeus, Thor, all these gods from European pantheons. What if we pick storm gods from across the globe? So that's some of our approaches. Let's bring new characters, and also some old ones that were redesigned, something like, Wolverine had existed before, their characters had existed before, and their new characters, mix them a little, redesign them, and then reintroduce them to the greater audience. So there are a lot of lessons that we also learned that I know some people are not able to pick it, so are not able to identify it, but the Storm 7 is a spiritual successor to Giant Size X-Men. Picking some of the lessons, some of the approaches that Len Wein and Tim took to create some of these beautiful characters that we love today, and then do the same in Storm 7. And even Luciano was able to break down what Dave Cockrum did with Storm's design, and what Jack Kirby did with Thor's design, and try to find a middle ground for all the Storm gods while also paying respect to each of their heritage. So it was a really, really fun experience, and we learned a lot from this series, and I'm happy that people loved our take.
One of the most significant things about your take on Storm, I love the fact that you have taken it upon yourself to recognize that truly good comics, superhero comics, is about feats. And every issue you're extending Storm's feats. Every issue you're doing a new wrinkle on her powers. And what's interesting, you're leveling her up, certainly, but you're not doing it in a I just want to make her the god of everything and OP on everything type thing. I mean, there's the Eternal Storm, but there's an explanation for that. Mm-hmm. You're leveling up her basic mutant abilities. And you're doing it in ways that are simply just creative without changing the canon, if that makes sense. You're giving explanations of abilities she has. Please talk about that.
Yeah, like every ability she has used in the series, I haven't created anyone that is particularly new. They are all things that are like, oh yeah, Storm can do that. If you think about it,
right,
like for more than 2 seconds, it's people that don't think about it for more than 2 seconds. That are like, no, you're making her OP. It's like, no, Storm has even shown like greater abilities than this. But it's one of the things that I think I said very early on when we started this show is I've been trying to look for a way to, because this is still action adventure, superhero is action adventure, and I think sometimes we're not able to have engaging fights. Let me just use fights as the word here. We're not able to have engaging fights with Storm because all she does is throw projectiles, and the projectiles are lightning and wind. And if that's all, you're unable to have this engaging fight. And I think that's why a lot of people don't know how cool she is. So it's like, okay, what can we do to make it cool? What are the cool factors we can bring in? Rather than, oh, she summons cold winds. What if she breathes the cold wind itself, as this icy blast from her mouth? For some reason, it's not even as efficient as if you just have cold winds with your hands, but it just feels cooler. Imagine, so you can imagine maybe her holding someone in her hand and then breathing ice breath into the person's head and freezing it just feels brutal. It just feels badass. And you just control your hands. It's something that Rob Liefeld said in an interview that when he was working on New Mutants, he realized that a lot of the X-Men books around that time were either casters, they just stretch their hands, or they were temple touchers, and it was like, I need to have powers that is more than this and this. Like, we need dynamics. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have Wolverine. That's going to be like, I have 6 knives. I need somebody that shoots guns. Let's just do something that is different. So that's what we're trying to do with Storm. Like, okay, rather than just taking wind, just like a regular caster, and just use your hand and just push someone. What if she creates a water lasso and then shot puts maggots away, things like that? Let's make it dynamic, let's make it fun, let's make it more physical, so that's what we're trying to do. So they've not necessarily been an increment of our power sets, but they've just been ways to make it visually interesting, you know, make it feel epic, make it feel engaging, make, you know, I remember watching Avatar: The Last Airbender as a kid, and it's not really about that power. Most of everything happens in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You've seen it in one show or the other, where you just look like, okay, cool. But after you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, you want to go to the bathroom. You know, you look at the buckets of water, and you're like, you know, let me see if I can control it. You know, because the hand movements, the everything, it just feels more real. It feels more grounded. It feels more exciting, you know, like maybe it's something I can really do or something. So those are the kind of things you want to do, you know. So if it's too big and too out there, oh yeah, there's just like 1,000 thunder, you know, this it doesn't feel like maybe it's something you imagine yourself doing, you know. But if it's something like, oh yeah, her hand has electricity, but then she, you know, slaps somebody with, you know, electric powers, then it's like, oh yeah, that's so, you know, so those kind of things, you know. So it's more fun, it's more exciting, and that's what we're trying to do so far.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because you know Jerry Dugan just had her do that in the West Coast Avengers. I don't know if did you see that, Paul?
The West Coast Avengers.
Yeah,
where they went up against the Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he had her like she was punching and backhanding people with the lightning fist and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. She went up against Bolt, and Bolt was like, "Oh, we're evenly matched in electrical powers," and she's like, "Yeah, that's cute."
As if
it's nice that you think so.
Right. That was good. I just have to say, I for one really appreciate your rendering of these elemental powers, because like you said, it does make it just that much cooler. Like I love it when she was like blocking the thunderclap. I love the water whip, which a lot of people I found thought that it was wind, but I was like, no, if you look closely, you see she's pulling the water and using it as like a lasso. I love stuff like that.
Well, let's get into her feats. So in the last episode, last issue, she had her level up from the Eternal Storm. She had her immortal head smashes. We see that at the Storm Sanctuary, we find out what is powering the Storm Sanctuary. We still don't quite know what this is. To me, it looks like a bit of a baby Eternal. But that's just adding to the Storm lore. The fact that beyond just having the Storm Sanctuary, which is a significant feat in and of itself, having this power up is pretty cool. So now the other thing that we learned in the last episode was the fact that she had this armor of vibranium that she uses to help actually enhance her powers. She's died at this point, as you just explained, so she obviously feels a little sensitive about dying and wants a little extra protection. But this is actually from a issue that you co-wrote with Gail Simone, X-Man Hunt Omega. Talk about this. Talk about what's going on here.
In X-Man Hunt Omega, I think a lot of things ended up changing, because this was supposed to even be the opening scene, you know, and it's about Storm introducing us to the dilemma, you know, and especially our role currently as the protector of Earth. And there's the dilemma of self-doubt that she's going through at the moment, you know, with the whole eternity thing and everything. But at the same time, I think in X-Man Omega especially, she's at a place where she recognizes that we need a symbol as mutants. And the thing about symbols is that sometimes your symbol has committed great atrocities, you know, and I think I see that a lot in a lot of European and even in European countries and in America, where there are these big statues, you know, dedicated to great people in the past. And then we now start looking at, well, were they great? You know, this person owned slaves, you know, this person committed this genocide to be able to gain this so-called greatness. And with history, it recontextualizes this person. Some of these people that we celebrate as great people were terribly evil people. So, and then she brings that question. So what do we do? Do we continue to celebrate these great men as though their sins do not exist? But at the same time, what those symbols stand for, do we tear them down? So, for example, just because we know that America is extremely flawed, does that mean we should tear down America and say no more and turn everything to chaos? And it's like, certainly not. And it's like this dilemma of this situation of there is no good decision here to make, and she's the one that presents that situation to in the X-Men Not Omega. And I think she's the one that has the maturity to be able to consider that in the entire X-Men cast right now.
Yeah, because Charles Xavier is a fugitive. He's a criminal in the eyes of many mutants at this point. He literally murdered people, at least what was perceived to be that he murdered people in front of Cyclops. But Storm's take is, yes, I recognize he's a bad guy, but he's also done some good, and its context is everything, right?
Like you have the X-Men wouldn't exist without him.
Yeah.
Right. The X-Men wouldn't exist without them. The very same people that he raised and are hunting him down, you have to recognize the reason you have these powers, the reason you have this moral code to try and hunt Charles Xavier down is because he instilled that in you. So you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, a lot of people said, oh yeah, it was his fault that Krakoa fell and a lot of things. And like, yeah, but it was also through his doing that we had Krakoa in the first instance.
In the first place, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so so where would Krakoa be without him too? So that's just the whole thing. So what do we do? Do we now say, oh yeah, because it did this, then we murder him, and then and what does that say to the humans as well? He still represents a lot. He's still the X. It's still the X in X-Man. And even if you don't see him as that, if the humans see him as that, and then they sling him up or they do something to him, it means something, So there might be someone that doesn't represent your demography. You don't even like the person. But if every other demography sees that person as a representation of a demography, you still can't allow that person to be disgraced or embarrassed or something, because then it speaks of you too, So it's a very dicey, delicate thing.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. I mean, I'm looking at the comments here. It's like we got a big family of Storm fans out there. The Storm fans are very tight knit. Yeah, Lady Kerrigan giving shout out to Butterfly Kiss and Hadara. Yeah, these are all names of people that come in every week. Shout out to all y'all. Thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting your Joe Maria and the book and all the works that he's doing. Appreciate you, each and every one of you. All right, so in X-Men Hunt, you've got Storm. She's talking to Sage. It was interesting. Did you do another feat here? Because she reaches out her hand, and all of a sudden, this spear thing that she has seems to jump into her hand. Is that what happened?
In fact, in the script, it's supposed to have all lightning and stuff, like the way when Thor summons Mjolnir, that kind of thing.
What in her abilities allows her to do that?
To be honest, I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
If it's the costume or if it's our abilities. So I'm still working on it because I've not written the story arc where I do the backstory to how she got the armor, because I'm still working on how she got the armor and everything.
Just the voice backup says electromagnetism.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of theories of electromagnetism. Some is just wind, and then it's since it's Wakandan armor, it can just be tech, So
here's the theory. I have. The spear you said was made of vibranium, I believe, right?
Yes.
And she's wearing the armor, which is also vibranium. If she can and she's used the spear to channel lightning, and if the vibranium absorbs energy, then it might have some residue of whatever energy she poured into it. And as given that her powers are actually not weather based, but is more energy manipulation, she's in essence able to pull that spear because it still has a residue of that energy she's flowed through it inside of it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
way if you run electricity through a metal, you kind of turn it into like a magnet for a second, that kind of thing.
Given that it's made out of vibranium, I think that it makes sense that she'd be able to manipulate the energy that's within the spear and pull it towards her. She's pulling the energy, not the spear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought that was yet another feat by Maria Ayudeli on Storm. All right. So they're having a philosophical discussion. She references, I have to go back to Atlanta. There's something within me that I must take far away from the brewing battle. I assume she's referring to the eternal storm, right?
Yeah.
She specifically says the dark Phoenix has taught us the great harm that great power is capable of. But the fury of the storm god. The storm god that she is, who is the storm god that she's referring to? She's trying to
fight
hide
on my behalf.
What is it?
Like basically fight on my behalf, fight with the wisdom of sage and fight with, like, as though I was there, fight with rage and power and everything with the storm god, since I would not be there.
All right. Is she including herself in that analysis of being the storm god?
Yes.
She's recognizing her own worth.
Yeah, so that's why we have the narration in 7 that says, when you're a self-proclaimed storm god, what do you do when the real ones show up?
You agree, Antoine? I mean, that's what she's doing right now. She's she's feeling herself.
I agree. I definitely agree. That's how I read it when I first, was reading it also. It's like, oh, okay, she's telling Sage to, be wise, but also, take my fury with you. Like, I'm there in spirit.
I've seen times where people say, oh yeah, she doesn't call herself a goddess. And I've seen it in some comics too, that say she doesn't call herself a goddess. But she does.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, there are lots of comics where you see that way she says, I am a goddess, she does.
See, this is the reason I bring this up. In the Black Panther comic books is when she first was called the Hadari Yao. She was recognized as a legitimate entity, a deity, where literally the Wakandans are saying, take our energy, we have our faith in you, and that powered her up literally as a god. And she's always been kind of hesitant about recognizing herself as a god. And I really think it all points back to that conversation when she first met Charles Xavier, and he said, yeah, you think you're a god here in Africa and Kenya, but you're just a mutant, which is so condescending, which is, I freaking hate Charles Xavier. I think about this because you robbed her of her black girl magic, so to speak.
He manipulated her.
He manipulated her. He manipulated her into thinking she's not as powerful as she is, which begs the question: if she gets over that self-limitation she has in her head that she's not a goddess, what is she capable of? And at this point, she's now saying, she's embracing, you know what? I kind of am a god, And if she starts to recognize that, what is the limitations, that self-limitation she's put on her powers is gone. That's when you start getting into the Omega. She's an Omega mutant. That means there is no limit as to what her powers can reach. And that's why your feats are so cool, because you're showing her growth. She's embracing her godhood. And by doing so, she's embracing that Omega status when her powers can go anywhere. That's kind of
I think that's why also this series has also been making a lot of people uncomfortable. because and that's why they think, oh, like all this book is power ups. There hasn't been any single power up in this story. In
Mm.
fact, check Storm and check every other book right now. She's actually the one that has been going through like some of the roughest thing in the X books right now.
Yeah.
Like
Definitely.
she's getting seriously brutalized, and it's and yet they're like, but the difference is why it feels like it's all fit and stuff is that for the first time in a long time, we see her carrying herself like a god.
Mm.
She lives in a sanctuary high above the sky. The way even the artist, with something we've talked about, even the way the artist draws her, she looks up when she's walking. She doesn't, she there's this level of confidence, where the series started. There's this way she talks, and everything that's changed. That's yes, I am a god, and then we see that okay, it's not just like, yeah, you've gotten the first stage down, you've said the word of affirmation, now it's now time to do the work.
Mhm.
And now we see everything being thrown at her to challenge that claim. Are you really a god?
Mhm.
Gods don't die. So, the first thing is death. What about when you see the real gods? Will you still stand strong amongst them to say that I am also a god? So those are the challenges we keep seeing. Those are the labors. After the labor, you become reborn as a god. So these are the labors. These are the things she will face, so that at the end, it's not just words of affirmation, but now she has acted it out to say that yes, I am a god.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about the fact that she died, literally died, and came back. And when she came back, she was in the most powerful state she's ever been. Her avatar state. She went Super Saiyan. Shout out to Butterfly Kiss. Thank you. Um, that I think once she gets over that initial shock of dying, because she was in that fetal position and kind of the shock of it all, the PTSD of it, I think she's getting over that now and she's starting to embrace the fact that, yeah, there is more to me than what I thought. Shout out to Kevin Cooper. Thank you as well. And that's kind of cool. I'm curious to see where she goes with that. Stephen Turner, thank you. All right. So talk about feats. Man, let me tell you. This is one of those moments where I was like, God damn, what did he just do? Malaya, seriously? We've already seen her manipulate lightning in interesting ways. We've seen her literally ride lightning. It's like her own teleportation. She rides lightning now.
Yeah, we've been doing this since issue 1,
Yeah.
and I'm
Since
happy
issue
now.
1.
It's now canon now. Like yes, like she's done it years back, decades back, and suddenly it stopped. Yeah.
We've seen her make spears and swords out of lightning. She's making weapons out of lightning. And I almost want to say that there was an episode where we talked about, and I was like, what about a bow and arrow? I think the thing seemed to recall me asking that. And here you did it. So she makes a bow and arrow, and I'm like, who's she going to shoot? Now, understand, she is at this says Atlanta, United States of America.
Yeah.
She then
I think
shoots.
Iceland.
You see her eyes light up. She's looking at something. And she shoots from Atlanta across the Atlantic Ocean, across Iceland, and hits Cyclops off of a moving ship.
Damn!
How?
It's one of the things I say that technically I have actually not done any new feats for stuff so far in my writing this thing. That's a very funny thing.
Mhm.
In X-Men Worlds Apart, I think.
Mhm.
Is that the
Yeah.
title?
Right.
Yeah, it said that she can control weather continents away.
Right.
So we already know she has that range.
Mhm.
So that's one. And we also know that she can sense, weather fluctuations, energy at that distance as well. So if you now take that and then those are the ingredients and then you mix it. So if it's that, oh, how can she see Cyclops that far away? She doesn't need to physically see Cyclops. She just needs to see his energy signature. And if she can control weather anomaly continents away, then she can guide a lightning bolt from where she is all the way there. You know, so it's the ingredients have been there, so it's now time to just mix it.
Yeah.
You
That's
put in
true.
here sniping Sagittarius. What does that mean?
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's something I did in the X-Men Omega. I don't know why. I've been doing it in the Storm series, but it's a little, but I went crazier for X-Men Omega, where the SFX, you know, I love SFX like Krakoom and all those stuff, but sometimes after you leave the Krakoom and the stuff, the SFXs become just for show because you can't pronounce them. You start saying BZZZTYZY, and you're like, I don't even know what that is, you know. So at the end of the day, it's just for visual aesthetics.
Yeah.
So and if the SFX are for visual aesthetics, why don't we go with something like the way we see it in video games, you know, where you're doing, oh yeah, 2-hit combo, you know, and you see SFX like 2-hit combo. And you see things like, you know, this and stuff like that, you know, you see it in video games, you know, sometimes you see it in manhwa, and also like, yeah, let's bring it here. Let's use that as this. So, you know, you have things like, you know, Supermassive Kapinga, you know, by Oya. You have sniping Sagittarius, because I think the Sagittarius symbol is an archer. So it's like, you know,
okay,
the archer that can snipe, you know, I know sniping is distance, you know, so the Sagittarius is a sniper, so sniping Sagittarius, and you know, alliteration, you know, SS, you know, so sniping Sagittarius. We have a red sulfur, you know, playing on, you know, silver sulfur. There were some that were even cut. You know, there was this panel where Cyclops shoots a massive beam into the sky and everything turns blood red. You know, the SFX that was there was Touch of God. You know, that's TORCH. You know, it was Touch of God. You know, it was supposed to, you know, because it's crazy moves and everything. So yeah, I had fun coming up with those names and for those power moves.
insane.
And just I saw this comment, so just for the uninitiated, that was from X-Men Hunt Omega.
X-Men Hunt Omega. So make sure you pick that up. Look, this is Black Comic Lords. We believe, you know, we're big on key issues. X-Men Hunt Omega, because of those feats, is a low-grade key. I mean, these are power sets that you've never seen her do before. That's freaking badass. Sorry, I'm gonna get taxed for that later by the Black Comic Boys. Anyway, so here are the covers. It's amazing. We haven't even got to issue 7 yet. That's just X-Men Hunt 7. I mean, just all right, X-Men Hunt 7. Let's talk about this. You have these covers. You have input on the cover A, right?
Yeah.
You could have opted, given what happens within the story, to have that sort of more represented on the cover. Why this cover?
I already scripted an issue 7, and the issue 7 was supposed to be the FBI story, basically the aftermath of X-Men Hunt. Like, oh yeah, Storm helped, you know, Charles Xavier. This is the aftermath. But then I add the story of the Storm Gods, because, you know, I'm building this the third arc is Thunder War. So, and I'm like, I want to have like if a touch of Thunder War in the second arc. And I'm like, okay, instead of it coming after the FBI, I want it to come immediately after this. Like, I was just so excited to write it. And I remember when I started this series, And I told you I was having panic attacks. I was having so many things, like, because I didn't want the book to be cancelled. So I was always so scared. I was always waiting for that email that would say, yeah, you're fired, and everything. And so I sent an email to Will Moss, that's the editor in charge of the Ultimate Books. And I'm like, dude, how do I not like get cancelled? Like, how do you have like a successful book or something? And it's like, it says what everybody says, like, you never know, nobody really knows the mix, everything. But there's one thing he can tell me in particular. You see that cool idea that you have, that cool idea you want to build up to, you want to keep that cool idea for like issue 10 and your issue 12 and your issue 15. Yeah, do that cool idea now.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. So I've been doing that. So that's why issue 1, instead of waiting till issue 5 before I show you Eternal Storm, I show you Eternal Storm at issue 1. So you know that, okay, there's going to be Eternal Storm. So you are patient with us till we get to issue 5 where we reveal Eternal Storm. So here it is like, yeah, we are saying Thunder War, but you don't know what Thunder War is. And how do I just say it? I just have to say, oh, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. So I have to show you what to look forward to. So I need to bring it closer. So I was like, okay, let's do it here. So I sent an email to Tom and said, I'm really, really, really sorry. That issue 7 script, let's make it 8. I'm going to write a new script like overnight or something and try to get it across to you and everything. So I think in the meantime, Matheus was able to like come up with this. I don't think this one was scripted by me. Matheus came up with this to be like, oh yeah, are descending from the sky and the people of Brazil looking up to her, and the goddess and everything. So I think this is one of the cover issues where I didn't script.
Is Matheus, where's he from? He's from Brazil. Brazil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's all right. We got to have Matheus and Lucas on the show at the same time.
Yeah.
I talked to them back at MegaCon. They said they were down for it. We got to bring them on.
Nice.
Especially now that you're doing a storyline in Brazil. So let's jump into it. You start out hot. Very first page. You go cosmic again.
Mm-hmm.
You keep dipping into the cosmic with the pinnacle of cosmic characters in the Marvel Universe, Silver Surfers. Tell me what's going on here. I mean, you can see the first panel. He's obviously got a sword from what looks like Cosmic Ghost Rider. Is that who that is?
Yeah. I like how people online that also watch this live show already know some of these things, and I see them discussing it online. It's always so fun. Okay, so people already know that I was kind of giving the rule of Storm stays on Earth. Like, you can tell your cosmic story or anything, but Storm should stay on Earth. She shouldn't be going all around. That's what the Phoenix should do. So I was so happy when people said online that, yeah, like Murewa is crazy. It's like, you know what? If Storm can't go to the cosmic will come to Storm. So all these stories that we're building up to, even though it's like far away, everyone instinctively knows that it's all coming down to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of makes it more scary and stuff. So the story starts because inspired by some of my favorite creators that worked in Cosmic Marvel, and that's Donny Cates and Daniel Warren Johnson. And Donny Cates did a story on Silver Surfer Black and on Thor. And his first Thor arc was the Black Winter arc, where Thor became Herald of Galactus and had to partner up with Galactus to fight the Black Winter. And in Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill, which was an accompanying book to that Thor run, Beta Ray Bill's Stormcaster gets destroyed and he needs a new weapon. And he has to fight Surtur for his blade. And he redesigned this new blade. And I love the design. He also gave the blade that, instead of the regular thing that you've seen before, that is just fire, but it's a regular blade, but that just oozes this smoke that just feels like something that you should see coming from the back of a badass bike or something. So I was like, you know what? I want to also bring some of the visual languages of that era. And the visual language of that era is that the Silver Surfer was not silver, it was black. So it was Silver Surfer black. I want to make him black once more, but not the same thing. What if I smoosh it together? So Silver Surfer now is going to be black once again, but that's going to have this extra thing of, it's almost like he has this skeleton thing, almost like he's the Ghost Rider, and he oozes this smoke thing. And I'm like, what name am I going to give him? I'm like, okay, let's go classic with it. What do we know about Stan Lee? Alliteration, all this Peter Parker, Reed Richards, all this Sue Storm, all this alliteration, and Silver Surfer is already an alliteration. What do you do again? Go overboard with it, Silver Surfer suits, so, and that's like, just suits for the smokes and everything. So it was a really cool thing to just do, and Luciano killed it because he gave it as much smoke. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted. Just let him just ooze that smoke while he's black in the on the asteroid that is glowing white and everything. So it was a very cool creation. When the editors were working on it, they left the name as Silver Surfer and crossed out the suits. I was like, please, that we have Cosmic Ghost Rider, we have Silver Surfer Black, we have all these things. Allow me to do the Silver Surfer suit thing. Let me have that name there, So it was nice.
You break down who this new power entity of Silver Surfer is. You say, imbued with both the power cosmic and the fire fury of Sorcerer's Twilight Sword, Norrin Radd is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, the Silver Surfer Soot. He has the strength to rip through a black hole cluster, the stamina to battle a pantheon of gods for 1,000 years, and the ability to traverse the vacuum of space at the speeds faster than light. More durable than a diamond, but nevertheless remarkably endowed with self-restoration. Yet, this being, whose presence alone strikes fear into the hearts of trillions, answers to an even greater power. Who does he answer to, Maria?
Galactus.
I love this page. I love this page.
But even Galactus answers to someone. Who is this entity below this picture of Galactus?
That's the Black Winter, and Donny Cates did a little retcon to Galactus's origin. That's the Galactus that's the devourer of worlds. There's this other character that is a devourer of universes, and Galactus is Herald. The way the Silver Surfer is Galactus Herald, Galactus is his Herald. So I bring that back here to be like, just not just universes, like is a consumer of realms and universes and everything. So, but however, these Black Winters are not as powerful as Oblivion. In fact, the only reason why our universe has not been consumed is because for them to reach our universe, they have to pass through the Oblivion void. So later in our story, when we start seeing them, you'll be like, it seems Oblivion is deliberately allowing them to pass through.
Yeah.
Why? So, but in this story, we don't see that. All we just establish is that Oblivion is way more powerful than a Black Winter. In fact, there are Black Winters plural. So yeah, and then we're going to find out the origins of the Black Winter. Who are they? What does it mean? I will give a little hint. And we know storm gods. Storm gods create weather phenomena. And by the description of Black Winters, even the name, it sounds as though they are weather phenomena. And when we last saw them established was in a Thor book, the book of a storm god.
Mm-hmm.
So that they are somehow linked to storm gods. So that's why it feels at home in a Storm book.
Mhm.
Huh. Sounds like the Black Winter might be one of the storm gods above all, something like that. We'll find out.
We'll
We'll
see.
see. We'll see.
S-
I already knew
So
you were going to say we'll see.
my question really quickly here is the way I read this was like it almost was like describing the hierarchy of power because we see Galactus first,
Yes.
and then we see the Black Winter who looks like he's swallowing Galactus, and then we see
Yes.
the Black Winter inside of Oblivion. Is that
Yes.
right?
So someone even says, like the food chain of the
Yeah.
multiverse.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, it's dope. All right. I mean, I love how you just bring in this cosmic stuff. It's always foreshadowing with you. You keep building up to this. There's going to be some payoff on this cosmic stuff at some point.
Yeah.
But
just the
then
way
you-
we did in the first volume, where in issue 1 we see the Eternal Storm thing, but we don't see it again. Some people even thought we forgot about it, like, this costume is different in issue 2, and then in issue 2 you see the old Oblivion weights, and like, what the hell does that even mean? I know, bit by bit, in issue 3 it's like she's healed but she's dying. Why is she dying? What do you mean she's dying? Oh man, that's just lazy writing, everything till eventually she dies and then she gets resurrected as Eternal Storm. And like, oh, now it all makes sense, So I'm looking forward to that happening here in the second volume too, because I'm already seeing some of those similar reaction, like, why are we doing some of this cosmic stuff, and someone like, where are these storm gods even from? Like, you didn't even remember to tell us where they are coming from, and it's like, you said the same thing in volume 1 before everything all clicked. So yeah, I'm excited for people to read those final issues and to go into Thunder War and see how everything fits in together.
it's interesting how you start this because in the last issue she faced off against the X-Men. Then we obviously talked about X-Men Omega, Manhunt Omega, and where that left off. And then the next thing we see, she's in a rainforest in Brazil. You're like, what the hell? And then she's fighting this big green anaconda snake, which has a super soldier serum in it. What did you call? What did some fan call this creature?
I watched a YouTube video, and someone said, Captain Anaconda, and I love that name.
Anaconda.
Keep it in comic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna touch that statement. But we did see Maggot get a level up. He's now Omega Maggot. Thank God you changed his outfit from the 90s. He literally looked like he shopped at a thrift shop. Now he's got the new gear.
And his clothes also match a little with Storm. I'm shocked people haven't noticed that is also black and gold, just like Storm.
Well, he's Storm's employee now, right? He's his ballet. He can't have the dude representing Storm and not have his drip right? So the dude had to level up. I appreciate that. Thank God you did that. All right. We do not. My one criticism of this incredibly stellar book is that we did not get more of what it means to be Omega level Maggot.
Yeah.
And that's it's barely a criticism because it's more like I love him so much now that I want to see more.
To see more. Yeah. I think it's because also we're on this show. So you've already seen Omega Maggot's design before this book.
Right.
For people reading this book, this is the first time they are seeing the design. So it's like for every issue, you have something new to see. So for people just reading this book that are not watching this show, in the previous issue, what you see is, Maggot got his arms pulled off and then it's healed and they said Omega Maggot. What does that even mean? So in this issue, what you see is that, oh my God, cool new design, and then, the next couple of issues, you're like, okay, these are the power sets. This is what it can do now. This is what it can do now. I don't think you should start that like very early. So now it's more like, oh yeah, you're still recovering from your fight with the Juggernaut.
Mm.
So now it's more about the looks, So yeah, this is his new look. So it is not too distracting. Then next, we now go to like, okay, these are his power feats, and we just keep elevating it and keep, So it's we're trying to like pace it and make it gradual and exciting, and so that you have something new in each issue.
As Maria said, if you're part of the cool kids club of Stormcasters who are watching this show on a regular basis, you already knew this was coming, which emphasizes the fact that you need to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
Do that, and you'll know cool stuff like this.
Exclusive previews, all of that.
Exclusive previews for the cool kids.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
saw a question. I want to attend to. Like since it's at night, like why isn't Storm wearing a brutal costume? Yeah, the brutal costume isn't for night scene, it's for fight scene, it's for fight scenes. She wears the black costume for rescue missions. So they didn't know they would find the anaconda. What they came to do is find the body of the pilots.
Yeah.
So it's a rescue mission. So it's something like, issue 1, where it's like a rescue mission, she wears something like that. Rescue missions, she wears, in this series anyway, rescue missions, she wears the black and gold costume. Combat missions, she wears, the white costume, white and gold costume. Extreme combat situations, then she wears the armor. So that's the thing.
Yeah. I also thought it was appropriate because this is her 50th anniversary for her to have one like her classic colors, the black and gold.
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
even really appreciated how Vecchio drew her cape, because if you look at it, it's very reminiscent of her initial appearance, the poncho like cape.
David Cockrum, yeah.
Yeah,
It looks more like a poncho.
And John Byrne sometimes too, with the way he would extend it so much where they really look like wings.
Right.
Yeah.
All facts. All facts. All right, so we have a bit of a flashback to what happened, what led to her going to Brazil. She's at
Yeah,
Storm
bringing back-
Sanctuary.
Bringing back the robe from issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
She looks all types of. Anyway, get myself in trouble. Iron Man's there, doing his classic. Almost reminds me of how you see him in the movies where he's sitting down, his legs crossed, trying to look cool.
Oh yeah, I used that image as reference.
Did you? Yeah, I picked up on it.
It was like sup.
He makes a joke about she's aware of the fact that he brings lady friends to her crib at the Storm Sanctuary, and he didn't know that she knew.
Yeah,
he's kind of creepy, isn't it? That seems kind of creepy.
No, I think that's the thing about Tony Stark. Tony Stark almost has an element of Deadpool in him.
Yeah,
and I think Tony Stark sometimes does irresponsible things, but at the end of the day, I realize that the irresponsible thing is also his way of testing people.
Mm-hmm.
So everything he does here to annoy Storm is to try to trigger her to be like, maybe if it was someone more petty, person would be like, oh, so you think you know my secret? I know your whole secret too, and then reveal, maybe the way some people do, like, oh, you think you know my secret, then I'll tell you your own secret too. Everything was just trying to annoy her, like, I want to see if you are capable of keeping secrets.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, I will say something so, something so intimate, something you feel so betrayed by, that's not what T'Challa told us, and it's like, yeah, I want to see what you would do,
Right.
And
see if she's gonna be like, oh, that's not true. I actually, yeah.
or something, or yeah, or something like, even distant Emma Frost told us this about you too, or something, and it's like, but she wouldn't. She's like, like, I know what you're trying to do, like, dude, like, grow up, like, so that's just Tony Stark for you, So even though he's like Deadpool, but he's not. Deadpool sometimes is just silly for being silly sake, and that's fun. But he is weird in a way because he has a goal in mind for being silly. So so he's trying to test our patience. He's trying to test, are you actually capable of keeping secrets? Because what some people didn't notice is that this story is bringing the Illuminati back.
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have three
Yeah.
of the members of the Illuminati here,
Yeah.
having T'Challa, Reed, and this, and
Yeah.
they are
Well,
super
you're jumping
secretive.
ahead. You're jumping ahead, Maria. Safe.
Sorry,
Get there. You're jumping ahead.
Because they're super secretive, and it needs to test her that can you really keep secrets?
Yeah.
She looks all type of bothered right now. Like, why are you bothering me? It's the middle of the night, and he's like, he's a super instigator. Question for Common Sense 4. Hello, Mr. Iodelli. I discovered you from your I Am Iron Man. Really fun comic. Are there things you want to share about working on that comic? I know
I
you're
really
an
love
Iron Man
working.
fan, so it was kind of cool that you finally got to bring him into the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer it now or wait to the end?
We'll bring that question back. Let's get through the material here.
We're really sorry we answer it at the end. I want to be able to
Yes.
give it like
Well,
a
let's get
really
to the questions
substantial
at the end.
answer. I really want to give a substantial answer. So please don't leave. Stay tuned.
Now,
It's going to be a very long answer. That's why.
Again, with the feats, I got to keep pointing these out because people are talking in the streets, the internet streets, about Storm's OP. She's not OP. He's just explaining how her powers that she's had for 50 years work, right?
Yeah. I've not added a single power set to her power yet.
You haven't even done anything.
That's a very funny thing that people don't know. I've not added a single one. I've just been referencing old ones.
He's explaining how her powers work. She perceives the cosmic dust radiating off of him. Storm she manipulates energy. She controls energy, not weather, energy. She manipulates energy. And so she can feel energy. This goes back to what I was talking about with the spear and how she's able to pull the spear to her. She can feel energy and she can feel the cosmic dust on it because Storm can also manipulate cosmic winds. Yeah. Incredible. Nice bit of another little egg nugget thing of feats that you added there. So Tony's explaining that mad scientist again decided to go ahead and recreate the super soldier serum. And of course, as all mad scientists, they lose what they're making out in the jungle.
It's always the jungle. It's always the jungle.
And I like how he's just like, yeah, so a group of mad scientists decided to recreate the super soldier serum again. And he's not giving explanations like, wait.
Yeah, that's what I like about Tony Stark. Like, why are you working with mad? And he puts mad in quotes, like mad, like you're working with mad scientists.
Yeah.
Like, and if you see the images of them, because I said it, they're not even like dressed like human beings. Like, if you see the heads, they're like in salamander, another reference to the salamander thing in this story. They have salamander heads. They're not even like human heads, I'm like, what the fuck is Tony Stark even doing at this point? What are you doing? You're working with salamander head mad scientists in Brazil. Like,
why are there mad scientists? Why are you working on a super soldier serum? Why is it?
Does Captain America know about this?
Does Captain America know about this? First of all, how are you even involved in this? The questions, he just skips over those details. But he does point out, he says, we need the weather anomaly in Brazil investigated and taken care of. He says we. And visually, who's we? Tony Stark, Reed Richards, and T'Challa. What group are these three guys a part of? I think this is what you're alluding to, Maria.
Yeah, the Illuminati. I couldn't use Doctor Strange because he was he's currently in Asgard.
Right?
Yeah, and I think Namor was still tied up in his miniseries at the time.
All right. So are there other members? Well, we do know actually that Blue Marvel recently joined the Illuminati. I want to say the White Queen joined as well. The Blue Marvel was shown as joining them about 2 months ago. I want to say in maybe West Coast Avengers. So he's now a part of the Illuminati. But are we going to determine, are you going to reveal why the Illuminati is after this stuff? Why they're back together?
I'm still there's still like like background setup thing for this arc. So I might see what I do with them later on if I'm still even allowed to work with them.
Okay. You did
So
promise
I
us that.
something it's just a little world building I want to be doing with this and just be playing around with it. I want them to just pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out, especially if okay, let me talk like a writer now. It's sometimes, when you're coming up with plots, sometimes you might not have a plot or something. But if you have something like the Illuminati, they can come with missions. So like external thing, and this is a superhero story. If everything is all, oh, somebody's coming for Storm, then it stops being a superhero story. It now starts being just a regular story, action adventure. A superhero story should have the characters doing heroic things too.
Mhm.
So if you get too bogged down with, oh yeah, the Thunder Gods, everything, you might be like, this is not a superhero story anymore. So sometimes we need things like the Illuminati to be like, oh yeah, we have a mission for you. The classic thing, that you see in all those cartoons, when the alarms are beeping and dun, 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 and then it's like, yeah, there's a mission, and someone calls, So the Illuminati can play that role, like, yeah, Storm, we need you for this mission, that kind of thing. And that way too, if I want to, I can also create some, Tochoro kind of drama or anything. Because, in Avengers, their teammates, what happens if it seems almost as though T'Challa is kind of the part of the team giving her missions, that power dynamic. What happens if that power dynamic changes? What happens with interaction, and things like that. So yeah.
People are giving shouts out to the fact that you did promise us that Black Panther would make a cameo appearance, and this is his one panel cameo appearance.
Sorry, small guys.
For all you Black Panther fans, that's our guy. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We talk about issue 8. All right, so they're talking about the fact that they're in Brazil. They're trying to track down. First of all, I forgot to ask. They said we need the weather anomaly in Brazil investigated and taken care of. What is T'Challa shooting here? There's lightning.
Yeah, it's going to be reviewed in the next issue, but it's in I think in Dubai they have these cloud seeding machines. In some countries they have cloud seeding machines where you trigger clouds to form and then create rain. So this is like the reverse of that. Anti-cloud seeding. So it's that, oh, the clouds have already formed. Let's find a way to dissipate them and loosen them up. So that's what T'Challa is trying to.
Marwan, don't start with that T'Challa stuff. Don't start with you know what I'm talking about. Don't start with the T'Challa stuff.
But it's correct now.
No, we're not talking about that. It's T'Challa. The T is not.
It was that old comic where he specifically says, "Oh, the T is silent." But I think T'Challa is now used so often and sounds cooler or something. So yeah,
it sounds really cool. All right. They send Storm into the mission to Brazil to go recover the body of this super soldier serumed person. And she encounters Captain Anaconda, who's immediately struck by lightning. I assume that it's Storm.
Yeah, we're supposed to assume that too. Even Margot thinks it's
Right. He says, you cremated the whole snake. But it wasn't her. It was someone else.
Yeah. And I think one thing a lot of people did also notice is for this fight to be extremely brutal, what the Storm Gods did is all the air molecules around her, they changed it to oxygen. So that means every lightning bolt gets ignited fast. It's like basically you're surrounded by fuel. So every fire. So that's why just a little spark from Shango's mouth births this fury, flaming breath. So everything is more charged up because it's all just oxygen everywhere around them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I
So
was
even
gonna
the
actually
army,
make. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't hear.
yeah, no, continue.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say it's oh, I was gonna that was the first thing I was gonna mention. A lot of people probably didn't notice the body inside of the snake when he was being electrocuted. But to your point about the air being changed to the oxygen, because a lot of people thought it was ice breath. And I almost made a post about it, but I didn't have time. But you know, my counter was, well, it couldn't be ice breath because if we read what they're saying about the air molecules being changed to oxygen molecules, a lot of times, like you said, that's used for fuel. So when you look at
Yeah,
Shango's mouth and you see the electricity, and then it's almost like fire, like you said.
yeah, it's some of those coloring things. When I gave that note, the book was already at the printer, so it was too late. Shango's flames are supposed to be red, and
Mm,
Storm Zone is supposed to be blue. And if you see in the artwork, Shango's breath is more fiery,
yeah.
while Storm Zone is more icy. It's
Hmm.
fire breath meeting ice breath. So
Ah,
it's
okay.
because one of the iconic moves of Shango from mythology is the fire breath. In Yoruba, I think when they are hailing him, they say Shango lukoso inoloju inolenu, basically saying, fire from the eyes, fire from the mouth.
Hmm.
So that's his iconic move. He breathes fire.
Let's let's show
Gotcha.
people what you're talking about. Let's start with this guy, Mamargan, and he's astride Ipilia, the regurgitator of Tempest, who looks like a
So
salamander, which is part of the title. Talk about
yeah.
this.
So this is the first god, and technically you can say they are both gods. Um, Ipia is one of a mythological figure in the Australian mythology. Um, I think he consumes things in the swamp and then regurgitates thunderclouds. So here I'm using that. Okay, this is the beast that is regurgitating the oxygen. That's doing all that thing. So he's also technically almost like a storm god, or at least a storm beast.
Hmm.
So yeah. So I think that would also make. I didn't want Mamarangan to be. I don't know why. I didn't want him to be like the other gods, like running around and stuff. I wanted him to be more like the wise old man,
Hmm.
almost like Odin level. And for a god like that, it's like, dude, just stay on your steed,
Hmm.
and just watch the battle, that kind of thing. So that's why I wanted to give him this cool animal from his own mythology.
Yeah.
That so that they are both like gods.
Yeah.
They're both storm gods themselves. So yeah, so
I
Is there
liked
any
it
yeah,
because it
so
was
it's
more like a hunter. He came across more like a hunter. Yeah.
yeah.
is there any significance to the markings on his body?
Yes, if you see a lot of Australian Aboriginal, they always have the painting markings and stuff like that. So it's we are mimicking that, but rather than just being body paint, so we make it something like a little glow in the dark and everything. And one thing that Luciano also did is that all the storm gods have like this white circles. He also gives Thor too. So this iron plate he has, he replaces them with those white circles, almost to give it like this cohesive sense of design, that all these storm gods are cut from the same cloth.
That's dope. If you were to equate what type of animal Mamaragon is riding on, what would you say it is? Is it a lizard, a salamander? What is it?
Technically in their mythology, it's a gecko, but it doesn't rhyme with the old SSS.
Gotcha. All right. I've since issue 1, I've been waiting for this dude. This is my guy. Sango, God of Thunder and Lightning.
The character you are willing to betray T'Challa fans for, say that what,
Whoa,
if
whoa,
someone is
whoa,
going to
whoa,
steal
whoa, whoa.
if someone is going to steal
Don't
T'Challa's
slander me.
girl, it can be Shango. If someone is going to steal T'Challa's girl, it can be Shango.
Here's my thoughts on that. T'Challa's always going to be, it's always going to be Choyo forever for me. That's not even a question. However, my issue is seeing Storm with lesser beings. People that, if you're gonna
Hey,
leave
lesser
T'Challa,
beings.
if you're gonna leave T'Challa, at least be with somebody who's equivalent or better. That ain't Craig, the corny dude. And it's certainly not, that's certainly not wet dog run around the town, been with every woman in the Marvel universe, Wolverine. She got to level up. She can't go down. She's got to stay either the same or go up, not below her stature. So
Mhm.
is Sango a level up or at least the same? Certainly, certainly. So I'm cool with Sango. I'm cool with Sango. So explain who he is.
Is the Yoruba storm god, and oddly enough, is one of the most popular gods worldwide because he's not only worshipped in West Africa, he's also worshipped in South America.
Yeah.
So even though Chak is the god that's representing South America in this story, a lot of South Americans know Shango more than Chak.
Yeah.
That's the strange thing. So it's still being worshipped today. I think another name for him is Olukoso, um, which means the king did not hang himself. It's a long story. Yeah. So yeah, so he's a very famous god. He was a real human or your king, but there are a lot of mythological stories that also says he was a god, then came back as a king, and then went back as a god. So, but is also a storm god of he's also a storm god. And one thing that is cool is that he's so popular here that people don't know Thor is a mythological figure. They think Marvel saw Shango and then made him white and called him Thor, because Thor's Mjolnir is just like Shango's axe too. This short, stout thing, and so yeah, there are a lot of similarities, which are things I wanted to also play around with. That's one of the reasons why I chose some of these storm gods as well, and not some other ones. I also deliberately chose storm gods that have like similar designs and stories about them, so there can be this synergy, like, oh, similar weapons, similar backstories. There's something that's going to come up in the future stories, for example, where um, Zeus, for example, has beaten a a snake god, Typhon, who's like a snake god. Susano has beaten Yama, I think it's Yamato Norochi, which is also like a serpentine, you know, a giant serpentine this thing. Thor also has the Midgard serpent, you know, and so a lot of some of these storm gods at one point or the other have had to fight and defeat giant snakes,
Hmm.
and I want to play around with that because who was the giant snake that we've introduced in our story? Oblivion. And Storm is also a storm god. So those are kind of some of the iconography and some of the mythological references we want to be playing
Yeah.
around with. So sometimes I might not pick a god just because maybe in their own mythology they have never fought a serpent before, and so just playing around with different things and things like that, the weapons they use and different things. Yeah.
This is why I love doing the show with you. I never would have picked up on half the things that you said unless you had explained that. And no, never picked up on the fact that you were pairing these gods with serpent characters, and Oblivion is also represented by a serpent character. That's kind of interesting.
So yeah, it's something that will become more obvious as you read the story. But yeah,
All right. You mentioned Susumu. Explain which god this is.
this is also a Japanese storm god, but he's also
For all you Mortal Kombat
um
fans, is this Raiden?
I think Raiden is Chinese. Well, there are technically two storm gods in Japanese. I think there are more, but there are two that are very popular, and is Raijin. So, but Raijin is more strongly just thunder, just thunder itself, the thunder god. and why you can see Susanoo as a storm god, because it's also linked with the seas, because the storms that come with the seas, like, when you are a sailor and things like that. So yeah. And another reason why I like the name, yeah, Naruto. That's also one of the reasons why I chose Susanoo over Raijin. Number one, Raijin comes in pair, Raijin and Fujin, and didn't want to separate him from his brother. But Susanoo stands alone. And is a little more popular because of Naruto, because you just say, if people remember the big power move of the Uchiha, the Susanoo. Yeah, so yeah.
All right. And then finally, we have Shock.
Yeah. Another reason why I like Chuck is if you look at his silhouettes, what Marvel character does it remind you of?
Well, the headpiece reminds me of Storm's crown.
Galactus.
Galactus, yeah.
Like his entire
right down to the midriff, the Kirby midriff thing that he's wearing.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Chuck is like the most, Kirby inspired. And I had to almost like say, I think it's Kirby that is Mayan inspired. Because if you look at a lot of Kirby art and look at a lot of Mayan art, you're like, oh yeah, I see all those sharp angles. I see all those
particularly on Eternals. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, so you see all those Mayan inspired distance. Yeah. So it was very, very funny when you're not trying to create a Mayan god and it just comes out Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
It's like because we're trying to mix the other characters with a little Japanese culture with Jack Kirby. But when Jack Kirby itself is Mayan and then Chuck is Mayan and you mix Mayan with Mayan, it just comes out pure. Like, yeah, this is just Chuck. So it was just a very fun character to design. He's god of rain in the Mayan mythology. There's this very iconic story, I think, about how he lost his wife and then he cries and his tears are what becomes the rain. So I try to say, for his design, he should always be crying. So that's why you have the glowing tears down his face. So even when he wears his mask, the tears are still there.
Damn. Bro, you go deep on this.
Yeah. And remember, this is a story that people say, oh, they forgot these details. Remember? Oh, he forgot to introduce the storm gods. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all think that Storm, that Maria doesn't know what he's doing. This dude's 5 steps ahead of you. Just you won't realize it until you read 5 more issues. All the stuff that he's doing.
So his weapon is also an axe. I think Mamaragan and Shango, they have axes. So far, I don't know all the storm gods. So far, the storm gods that I know that only have swords is Susanoo and Amadioha. That's the Igbo storm god.
Of these,
no. Susanoo is the only one I know as a sword of the storm gods like that I've done research on. And then there's one that I've not introduced, but is Amadioha, the Igbo, is another tribe in West Africa, storm god. He also has a blade. But usually it's an axe. It's an axe. The axe is probably one of the most popular one. Some have spears, and then some have their own unique weapons that are just crafted for them, like Zeus and his thunderbolts and stuff. But swords are not popular.
This issue truly is a as you said, a spiritual successor to Giant Size X-Men #1. Because you had these characters from all across the world. You've got these gods from all across the world. This is a level up of the Storm mythos and the Marvel universe, honestly.
Yeah.
Because this has never been done like this before. You're the first one to do this.
So try to have fun with it.
Mad props to you, man. So this this is the image. Oh,
Man.
Shock reduces himself in size, and he's like, "So you consider yourself a god, huh? Okay, Storm.
Storm God will retreat. You know,
God who retreats, because Storm is like, Maggot, you need to get the hell out of here. Let's make
know
a
what to
retreat.
do.
Let's get out. We're overmatched." And he's like, "What? A Storm god who retreats?"
Right.
Grabs her by her pretty hair, not weave, by the way. Grabs her by her pretty hair and drags her face down into the ground. She was
and
not
if you look at it, it is correct. Thor would die there before he retreats.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
What causes her to retreat? Fear over fighting them or her concern over Maggot's safety?
You know, I think Storm is just different. The way she approaches life and everything is just different. She grew up with the X-Men. She grew up with someone like Cyclops, where she knows that, look, retreating doesn't mean you've lost.
Yeah.
You can actually go back and, like, if you saw that when she left, she went to get her armor. She's like, I've gotten my vibranium armor. I'm still coming back to kick your asses, you know. So it's not like, oh yeah. I'm scared. I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I don't have to stay here if there's no chance of winning. I can go and get, you know, battled and armored up, and I'll come back for your asses, you know. So that's the difference. Those are the things you want to do, you know. Show the differences between someone like, because you can just be like, oh, Storm is just female Thor. It's like, no. It's like, let's show the differences between these characters, you know, because Storm had experience with someone like Cyclops, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, she knows that, look, I don't have to fight you now. I can come back, you know. So if let's say you are strong during the day, I don't have to fight you in the day. I can come back at night and beat your ass, you know.
Yeah.
So that's Storm. Thor will probably try to say, you are strong in the day, I will still find a way to beat you in the day, you know. So, and that's probably how a lot of Storm gods are, you know. And so that's what Chuck's like, a Storm god will retreat. Like, I've never seen this before. Who is this? Who is this? Like, what? You know.
It would have been
like,
funny.
Shameful, you know.
She's a heretic.
It would have been funny if before she decided to retreat, she looked at him and goes, "Nope." And then she tried to get.
So what I'm curious about really quickly is when she throws Maggot and tells him, you know what to do. So what is it that he's supposed to be doing?
To go get the armor ready, you know. He gives all the instructions. She gives all the instructions in page 19.
Okay, so that was the circle back to that. Gotcha.
Go get Storm Sanctuary, get my armor, and let's get back to it. So he pulls her to the ground. She is a little embarrassed at this point.
Slam. Boom.
And she has this moment. This little panel right here got layers. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, let's start with the dialogue. She's listening to Brother Voodoo, Dr. Voodoo. You descendant of Ashake. Now, for those who don't know, that's her ancient great grandmommy. You share blood with Agamotto, the first sorcerer supreme. That is where her magical lineage goes back to. The first sorcerer supreme. I'm going to let y'all marinate on that. It'll come to you in a couple minutes about how significant that is in terms of her magical lineage. She's like, Brother Voodoo, what would you do if your mutant abilities were taken from you, Aurora Monroe? This has been the question I've been asking from issue 1. Maria, if you took away her mutant abilities, just how powerful a sorcerer is she? And you mentioned something about, I'm going to do a different look for her eyes when she's going to kick in her magical ability.
And a lot of people were guessing purple color.
Yeah, like different colors. Okay. And you're like, no, you haven't guessed the color. And you finally reveal the color here.
Mhm.
It's black,
She
pitch
says Ile.
black.
What
Yeah.
does Ile mean?
We actually say it in issue 2. That's the funny thing about how everything is linked. This exact dialogue by Voodoo is from issue 2.
Mhm.
That's the dialogue he tells her before he crashes her to the ground. And in the narration there, it talks about, there are different spells, in different dark spells from West Africa, but there's one that is very common that, you say the word ile, and the word can mean a lot of things. It can mean trash, it can mean ground, but in this particular instance, it means fall. So, and then there's a power, there's this big cosmic power that puts its weight on you so that you fall to the ground and stay there. So, so it takes different forms. When it attacked Storm in issue 1, it took the form of a giant orca that
Mhm.
smacked her to the ground. Here, because there are multiple, enemies, it took the form of a giant octopus.
Yeah.
Is there a particular name for this creature in your head?
It's just an octopus, just like that
It's
one was
just
an
an
orca.
Just an octopus.
Yeah.
Really dope. Hey, thank you, Azazel Valentine. We're gonna get back to this question in a second. We'll come back to this, but thank you very much. Did you specifically ask that you have sort of this African style markings on this octopus?
Yeah, it's a callback. There are African patterns in the orca in
Mhm.
issue 2.
So she's grabbing up all the gods using the octopus, and Chalk refuses to let go of her hair, which is not weave. It's her real hair. She refuses. I mean, she's got beautiful hair. She spends a lot of time cultivating this rain cloud of hair with
And she's
Wakandan.
extremely proud of it too.
Extremely proud of it. If you know the Reggie Hudlin run, she's very sensitive about her hair. It's a thing with her. So what does she do? Because she's truly, truly a warrior. She takes out a knife and cuts the hair.
I think the reference, people talk about the Sakura imagery as reference. That's a good one. Another one is Mulan.
Mhm.
When Mulan
Yeah.
has to go
Yeah.
to war,
Yeah.
she had to first take her
Cut her
hair.
hair. Yeah. That's a
You
good
know, it's
one.
interesting in some societies, when you have lost a loved one, you cut your hair, as part of that
Yeah,
tradition.
yeah.
And I wondered to myself, is this her basically sort of recognizing the death of who she was and embracing who she is? Because at this point, Voodoo's asked her, what would you do if you didn't have your mutant abilities? And I wonder if this is that moment where she's like, let me embrace all of who I am and
Mhm.
cut the vestiges of the past and become who I can be now.
And like we've established, maybe one of the reasons why she has always been hesitant with magic is because it
Right.
reminds her too much of her mother.
Her mother.
Like maybe she hasn't mourned her properly, so the hair thing too.
Yeah. So she's like, go fetch my armor and my blade. I'm going god hunting. She's
I
like,
love that. I love that phrase, God hunting.
her hair is shorter, right? She throws off her cape. She wants armor. She wants a blade. She's about to throw hands. Storm gods and their fury.
But Thor must say the nay.
This was dope. This was dope. And I love the fact that he rides in on lightning, which is her new ability too.
Yeah.
What can
I just love the background of the Storm Sanctuary.
Oh yeah.
Vegetation,
cool.
everything. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. This was a dope issue, Maria. I mean, I said that about the last issue, which was spectacular in action and everything. And this was even better than last issue.
Yeah, this one is my favorite now.
Yeah.
Until we'll see what the next one brings. But now this one is my favorite.
This is the best issue you've done so far. I don't even think it's a question.
Thank you.
This was a dope issue, man. and you've expanded the Marvel mythos.
Yeah.
Once you
Yeah.
do it, it's the cool thing is when creators do this type of thing where they start to flex their creative juices, think out the box, don't regurgitate stories that have been done before, and they say, I'm going to do something new and I'm going to do something great. I'm going to let my creativity roll, because once you do it, it lasts forever. There's no
Yeah.
backsies on this. This is canon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
These gods are now canon. These power-ups, these feats, that's now canon. This is her baseline powers.
Yeah.
Y'all
You know
need
what
to
I love too
respect that
about
man's
this
name.
issue with the eyes, I saw some people bring this up, is if you recall reading Giant Size X-Men, initially her eyes were supposed to be dark when she used her power.
Yeah.
But then they changed it. Late Chris Claremont changed it when he took over to being white. So I thought it was a really interesting contrast for the magic use for her eyes to go back to being black, like originally they were supposed to be.
I mean, you could actually do kind of a thing where you kind of retcon that a bit by saying at the time she first joined the X-Men, she just got recruited from being a goddess in Kenya. So, and she's closer to her homeland where her ancestors are. So, foreseeably, she could have been tapping more into her magical abilities at that time and still had some vestiges of that when she still
Yeah, it
came.
can easily be retconned. Yeah.
You know what I
To
mean?
linking it that way.
She
Yeah.
was still
Yeah,
kind of thinking with a magical mindset, but then the more Charles is training her, the more she's like, I'm not a goddess, I'm not magical, I'm just a mutant. I'm just a mutant. He's drilling it into me that I'm just a mutant, and then you see that switch from black eyes to the white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If this series itself takes even besides Giant Size X-Men, it follows more of Len Wein's kind of style. I think even more than Chris Claremont, because
I agree.
Len Wein is the one that gave us Swamp Thing and things like that. So you can see some of the
Yeah. And
Cosmic horror
he
kind of
actually didn't care for I remember this. He didn't really care for what Claremont was changing about the character. Because he felt like it humanized her too much. He wanted her to remain more along the lines of being this goddess type character.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm wrong. I think also in Giant Size X-Men, I think he also went with Omniscient Narrator as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah.
All right.
And there was no like, this is what is inside this Storm's mind or anything. Yeah. It was that. So these are the previews for issue 8.
Yeah.
So this is Lucas.
Where's my Black Comic Lords exclusive Dr. Wizard? My producer's eating popcorn right now. So
this is a Black Comic Lords exclusive.
I can't say anything because I screwed up the beginning of the show, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
So can we make the image bigger for people that want to like do screenshots or something?
Yeah.
The previews. Okay, cool.
Tell us what's going on here.
Okay, so yeah, this is the aftermath in Brazil. Something happened that solves the weather anomaly. So we'll discover what happens, that solves the weather anomaly. But this is Lucas Werneck's take on the Silver Centurion armor, on T'Challa, and on Reed, So and Brazil's Christ the Redeemer statue, and Alex Guamari is giving it some sick colors.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I also like how Reed is like, my back.
Yeah, because it's been taking lightning bolts
the
to
lightning
them all
bolts to the back. That was funny.
I don't recall ever seeing. I haven't seen Lucas Werneck draw T'Challa in his costume before. I think I've seen him draw T'Challa back in like the Hellfire Gala type thing, but I've never seen him draw him.
I think even before he broke into Marvel, I think he's on Facebook. He draws T'Challa and Ororo in like traditional African.
Oh yeah, I have that one saved. That was a nice one.
So this is the first time in a comic book you've seen him draw T'Challa
in costume. Yeah, in costume.
In costume, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks cool. All right. Next up,
Yeah, so another full screen. So this is her after she has gone to like go wear the armor, and Thor are the ashes from the ashes from the Anaconda and the pilots. So they are drying it with the lightning and channeling it into a urn, and so they send it off to someone that can find a way to separate the pilot's ashes from the python's ashes so that they can properly mourn. So, but this is them just chilling and talking while doing storm god things.
Mm.
Is there anything significant about the anaconda from like a magical sense or anything like that? Or is it just a
No,
big ass anaconda?
it's just a big ass anaconda.
All right. So they want to also separate the ashes of the pilot, I guess, just to honor the pilot and have bury his ashes, what have you. But are they still trying to recover the soldier serum from the
It's
ashes?
gone.
It's
It's
gone
gone.
because it's burnt to ash. Okay.
Mm.
All right. So, you know, you ended the last issue 7, with her eyes turning black. She's tapping into her magic abilities. But we see here in issue 8, she's back in the armor, using her spear. There's lightning all around her. I guess that's more coming from Thor than anything else. Are we going to see in issue 8 her tap into her magical abilities?
I think you should get used to that by now. That I'll probably tease a little before I dive into it fully again. So even Thunder War, the last issue is a tease. We will not jump into Thunder War until issue 10. It's issue 10 that we now have the title Thunder War Begins. Issue 11 is Thunder War Rises. And then issue 12 is Thunder War Ends.
All right. So Thunder War starts with issue 10.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there would be more of T'Challa in 8. Will he speak in issue 8?
It will crack a little joke.
He'll crack a little joke. Will he speak to Aurora in issue 8?
Not until the future arc.
In issue
The
10?
arc after Thunder War.
In Thunder War in issue 10. All right, fair enough.
No, arc after Thunder War.
Oh, the arc after. Jeez, man, you're really dragging this out. All right. Give the people what they want, Maria. Give the people what they want.
If
All
you
right,
know what they want, you have to get them to buy as many books as possible.
Yeah, we'll
Yes,
talk about that.
so they can get it.
What
So
is
this is
happening here?
this is the new artist that is also joining the team.
Oh,
As you know, Luciano Vercio is will be joining the Uncanny X-Men, and so we're going to be having Mario Santoro. He's a new artist. He's phenomenal. He's awesome. He'll be joining. He'll be joining the team. I think Alex was talking about coloring his work and say his work reminds him of Olivia Coipel kind of inks and stuff.
that's
So
high praise.
It is
yeah,
indeed.
so this is him. This is we took like a little screenshot out of this full page panel of Maggot inside the ring where they're going to have the POW FC. That's the power shifters, fighting this thing. So yeah. So this is where Omega Maggot is going to be fighting, characters like Gentle, She-Hulk, and
Did you say
the
gentle?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's a ring surrounded by water. So yeah, and people are, and they have mutants and stuff here to like watch the fight and stuff. So yeah,
This looks like
it's going to be very,
a
very
group of
cool.
mutants. All these people are mutants?
Yeah. So and this takes place on the Storm Sanctuary. So this is another new location in the Storm Sanctuary. Like I told you, we're going to be revealing, the Storm Sanctuary bit by bit. We saw the place where she keeps the hippos in previous issues. That's the animal reserve, the nature reserve part. We've seen the storm engine where she puts her power source. We've seen the living quarters. We've seen a wardrobe, a walk-in wardrobe. We see where she lives, where the X-Men fought are, and where Iron Man came to visit. That's like a lobby kind of thing. So here is, where this is another location too, where Margot is turning into a fighting arena of some sort. So yeah, bit by bit, we're going to be learning more about the sanctuary, seeing more locations, just the way we are going to be learning more about his power sets, learning more about the Illuminati and stuff like that. So yeah, gradually, we are hoping to be revealing more about this world, because we don't want to overwhelm people by putting too much information in each issue. We
You
want it to
seem
be
to
like,
have a lot of stuff in Storm Sanctuary. Is it kind of like the world where it's kind of like bigger on the inside, or like the TARDIS or something, where it's bigger on the
I think it's just difficult to draw it and for you to understand how big it is. But I keep saying like it's like five New York City blocks. It's
Okay.
big, and that's just it on the surface. It's still, that's just like layer one. It goes deeper too. For example, in the solicitation for a future issue, you're going to learn that Eternity abducts another cosmic entity and hides that entity inside the Storm Sanctuary. That's definitely not going to be on the surface. That's definitely not going to be where the Storm engine is. So that's another location in like deep basement, So yeah.
Storm got hella money.
Yeah, so we want to have fun with the location, like I said, I'm also trying to build this so that even if I'm not the one writing Storm anymore, we have enough material for anybody that takes over the series, so that there's always something to work on. Either you add more things to the Storm Sanctuary, or even what we have established already, you can play around with it, and just more,
Let's
a
not
lot of
let's
us.
not let's not have any more talk about anyone else writing Storm, because quite frankly, you set the bar so high. I can't imagine anyone else writing Storm but you at this point.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be like some new badass writer or something that's going to kill it and play around with all these toys so well that you could be like, damn. So yeah. So
All right. We have some fan art, but it's hard to even call this fan art, because this is Dotun Akande's art.
yeah. So
This
do,
is-
do we, do we drop is there a way to drop a link? I don't even know, but this is Storm on Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio. Yeah,
This is fantastic.
fantastic.
Dotun is just, I can't say enough about how incredible I think his art is.
So it's to celebrate Storm's 50th anniversary and this book. So he has another image too. That's also to celebrate the. So you can go to his Twitter page. You'll probably have it. He's probably listen to us now. You'll probably have it posted, or you go to my link tree. You sit in our posters or something. So yeah, you can download high resolution, make it your screensaver on your phone or something. So yeah, just to celebrate our 50th anniversary.
That's what's up.
And then we move to the fan arts for the month.
Jeff DeCall, Storm Commission. This is fantastic. Antoine, you said that he has an issue coming up, right?
Is Antoine there?
Is Antoine still there?
I think Antoine said he's going to be
There he
doing a
is.
variant cover for a
Okay.
future issue.
Yeah, number 9. It's a variant cover.
Nice.
And let's see. Ooh, Chiral Omega,
I love the colors on this.
Yeah.
cartoon style. Oh, my guy, Jay Hero.
One of our favorites.
Let me tell you, Marvel, if you're watching this, you guys are slipping. This man, I've been talking about him 2-3 years now. His art is nothing short than fantastic.
Iconic.
how you're not hiring him to do covers for you at least is beyond me. Is his art is fantastic and he can draw anything.
Mhm.
Please reach out to J Hero, hire this brother, get him any comic company that's out there.
Mhm.
Hire this dude to do your covers. His art is fantastic. He'll sell you some books. And yeah, for anyone fans out there, you can reach out to him if you want commission work to have him do artwork like this for you. Go ahead and reach out to him and commission him to do some original art for you. All right, Mike Belden. This is a Marvel Rivals thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, looks very cool, very manga-esque too.
He's also selling original art for sale, so you can DM him, Mike Belden.
Damn.
All right, got Sexy Storm. Wow,
Eternal Storm.
that's beautiful. Her hair's not long like that anymore, though. Oh, that kind of begs the next question. Now that she cut her hair, are you going to do some type of new style change up of her hairstyle as a result? She going to do something different with it?
Yes, that's what I can say.
Are you bringing the mohawk back?
No.
Mohawk's played out. You don't have to bring the mohawk back. All right, Danny, Storms by Me.
Okay, so let me give a little spoiler, but not major spoiler. There's this story by Dwayne McDuffie from the
Mhm.
Fantastic Four, where Storm insists with
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
with the thing about she doesn't wear weave.
That's why I kept saying
Yeah.
the weave thing constantly throughout this episode, because that's where I was referencing.
Yeah, she won't be able to say that anymore.
Oh, Storm's getting extensions.
What you talking about?
Damn.
But here's the question: Who's
Yeah.
Storm's hairdresser? Are we gonna see who that?
Oh
is?
yeah, she does her own hair.
She does her own hair.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. All right.
I love this one.
Speaking
Some
of
my
hair,
favorites.
that's awesome. Truly queen-like.
Yeah, the wind, everything. This
Super
is what we
thick
call
storm.
thick storm.
Thick
Yeah.
Storm.
Yeah, with the 5 C's.
That's what's up. Tell Lucas, feel free to make a thick storm version at some point. Okay, so chat.
So, yeah.
We promised we would get to your questions. Let's get to it.
So let me start with the hair growth thing. The reason why I didn't want to do the hair growth thing is two things. We see a lot of women, especially Black women, struggle with a hair growth, and a lot of times to be able to do that particular hairstyle they want, they need a little help. So we've seen Storm represents, natural beauty and everything for a long time.
Right.
Just for a little short while, just till her hair grows back. What if she can also help represent people that actually need a little help to be able to look their best? People that need hair extensions, people that need this to be able to have that look that they desire and everything. So that's what we want to play around with.
Well, that leads to Stephen Turner's question. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Stephen. Can we give Storm a second mutation of magical hair growth or magical spell? My girl is always going through it. At least this time it's not a mohawk.
Yeah, her hair actually grows faster than normal. So it's going to come back pretty early, but for a while, she's going to be, using extensions.
She should be able to tap into the power of her ancestor Agamotto and make it just poof.
Poof.
She hasn't learned how to do that yet.
Yet. That's the operative term, Antoine. Yet.
Yeah.
All right, Todd Stokes. Okay, I'm loving the magical moment for Storm. I've been waiting to see if one of the last magical moments of Storm, the creation of the mutant island of Karak.
It's the kaiju from X-Men Red that they
Oh,
did.
will we
Mhm.
see Karak in the series?
Um, I think things that are related to Arako and everything is in a very delicate position right now. I can't really mess with it until that thing happens.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure yet.
All right. What we got next? Shout out to Azazel Valentine. Thank you for super chat. This feels like they are truly testing her because practically all of them have had to throw hands against several gods. So far, a self-proclaimed goddess to flee was probably offensive to them.
Yeah, yeah. You know, in also in a lot of other mythologies, besides fighting giant snakes, a lot of storm gods always fight like the other gods in their pantheons. Zeus to be able to become supreme leader in his own pantheon had to basically kill the main, Kronos, and had to fight the Titans. So a lot of the stories of, many of these storm gods, they had to fight gods, Shango had to fight Ogun, the god of war. Imagine a storm god waging war against the god of war, so a lot of all these things. So yeah, it's probably felt shameful, like retreats, like why will a storm god retreat?
Did you just say that you're going to bring a flashback of Shango fighting Ogun, the god of war?
No, at least not yet. So let me not say no. At least not yet. No. Now we're still focused mostly on the Thunder Pantheon in
That's
in
not
the
a
Marvel
no.
universe.
That's a not yet. I just want to establish that because that would be
Yeah,
beyond awesome.
too awesome.
That would be beyond that would be taking it to a whole nother level that Marvel's never been to, and I'm here for it, dude. So by all means.
Yeah.
All right, C2,
Oh,
thank you for super chat. Will we see Storm
Thank you.
speaking with Agamotto or Ashtor?
Agamotto probably not. Oshto maybe, but the highest chances are probably Ashake, because since she's referenced the most, and she's the most, allow me to use the word, learned of all her descendants. Like, Rick from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
That's Ashake of all her descendants. Like, she's the one that reads a lot, that is very knowledgeable. She's the one that probably has her mind stored up somewhere in one timeline to be like, oh yeah, in the next 10 years, you will need to learn this magic spell to be able to fight this demon in the next blah, blah, blah. So I've sent my consciousness to that time to teach you this spell. She's the one that does all those kind of weird stuff. Anytime she goes into the afterlife and blah, 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 is Ashake she meets, and not the other one. So she's the one that is the crazy prepper like that. So it's might probably be her.
All right. Common Sense, thank you for super chat. Will Akron be in Thunder War 2?
I might have to check my lists. I'm not sure. Let me
You have a list?
Let me quickly check something real quick.
He's checking his list. He has a list.
Santa Claus.
I think not yet. Akron not yet. Some of the storm. Sorry, I'm taking time. Some of the thunder gods, at least that we have referenced a little. I think we have Huko, we have Horagalis, Perun, Indra, Pekunas. There might be added. There might be more added. There's Amadioha, and so there might be more added later. But let's see.
Did y'all just see him read from his list of what's coming? Do you not y'all understand the exclusives you're getting? subscribe to the channel, and this will be your regular thing. Hit the like button. If you're digging what the man's throwing down, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure, my God, but that's holy. Make sure you're pre-ordering the Storm book. Go to your local comic shop, say, I add Storm to my pull list. I want a subscription. Pre-order the book to keep this book going, please.
Yeah, because people are not getting it because it's been selling out at the distributor. I heard today, I think number 7 is sold out already. So
wow.
Yeah.
Stephen Turner, thank you very much for
I think someone said the shops tried to reorder and they're like, yeah, sorry, it's sold out.
All right. Steve wants to know, is Lucas still doing the art? Because you mentioned these new artists.
Yeah, Lucas is still doing art. We just saw some of his panels there. He's drawing issue 9 right now.
Okay. You're just rotating artists to give Lucas a little break. So his quality of his work should increase because he's giving him more time to work on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And usually an ongoing series has 2 artists. The main artist and supporting artist.
Great. Common Sense. Imagine Ice Storm was a teacher in a strange academy or Spellbinders by Mike Carey, along with Anya Corazon, the magic spider caster.
Well, that would be something.
That was something. What's the word? I've forgotten the word that people use when you get a job, not because you deserve it, but because you know people.
Nepotism.
Yeah. So she would only be a teacher because of that.
Right.
Because she ain't knowing nothing yet.
Azazel Valentine, thank you, sir. How many souls I gotta donate for some of these to be on t-shirts? Because bro, this art is too darn clean. Let me rep my devotion to Storm, darn it. The t-shirts. Antoine, I see your shirt there, man.
Oh yeah, my hold on. Which way do I have to turn? This is my Storm jersey. Can I stand up some?
There you go.
And then it's got I don't know if you can see on the back, it's got Monroe.
Oh, that's a 97 on the back too.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Figured I'd pull it out for the 50th anniversary,
That's dope, man. All right. Let's see. Is Storm using Beyonce's
sacred?
Possibly.
Right. Mr. Common Sense, thank you. Mr. Ayodele, if you ever want to work for DC Comics, which character or characters do you want to write?
I think I've said Joe, but now that Aliwin is writing Joe, it's going to be like, dude, he'll probably get offended, like, dude, I was writing Storm, you wrote Storm. I'm writing Joe. Right. You say you want to write Joe, so like, what do you mean? Like, why are you following me around? So yeah. There's this fan cast that has always been done that I like to. Vixen. Vixen is nice. I've always wanted to write Wonder Woman, and it's very, very painful because Kelly Thompson is killing it on Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm like, why? How do you follow up with that? But I would still love to write Wonder Woman.
Given your ability to write gods, it'd also be interesting to see you do Nubia. Because of her ties to the gods as well. Does
definitely. Yeah. Joe, Vixen, Nubia, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, you'd kill Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
This creation of Bendis, Naomi. Yeah, I love Naomi too. I've always think she has this potential. I always have this. I'm not supposed to say this. Writers are not supposed to say this, but I'll say it.
It's just us. You can say whatever you want. No one's going to see this.
Yeah. I have this pitch in my head of a story with young Green Lanterns and Naomi on a mission. So I won't take the mission because that's the big part. So yeah, so I have this pitch I have written down. I've had it written down for like God knows how many years now. So yeah,
that would be amazing. Naomi, like Naomi and Teen Lantern.
Yeah,
that would be dope.
I think I have a little joke that even starts it off. The first thing, she's a Yellow Lantern. Like, why is the Yellow Lantern here? So yeah, so Um, yeah, so I would definitely love to write Naomi. It's a lot of female characters. It's in Marvel, it's a lot of female characters and Tony Stark. And at DC, it's a lot of female characters and Batman. So
Mm.
it's like
You
that.
have interest in writing
Oh,
Batman?
yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
That would be interesting. That would be
that'd be
interesting,
interesting.
Batman. Well, maybe with the new Marvel, we don't know when it is, but when with the new Marvel versus DC project, maybe you'll be one of the writers that they'll tap. I'm sure they'll
I
have a
doubt
long
it.
list.
Have
No,
you
but
ever
that would
reached
be
out
great.
to Marquise Draper at DC?
I've tried sending emails to people at DC. So far, I've only had luck with Tom Brevoort. I think Tom Brevoort is the only editor that's like, yeah, let me work with this guy.
Try
Um,
Marquise Draper at DC.
Okay, so then there's this
Don't tell
casting
him I
that
sent you though. Don't tell him I sent you.
then there's this casting that people also make that I didn't consider first. That has also been cool. Is when I wrote I Am Iron Man, and people said I basically didn't do the old deconstruction thing. I just basically wrote like a straight up superhero story
You did.
and stuff, and people said I could write Superman, especially the fact that I know how to write characters that are OP and still tell an interesting story.
Yeah.
They have varying power sets. So people always cast me with Superman, so that's especially with the way I write Storm, who also has varying superpowers, and write Iron Man, who is also, oh yeah, with the power of my mind, I can do anything. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it's like, yeah, Superman too. So it's something I didn't consider before. And now like, oh yeah, that's true.
That's
So, yeah.
because you write the story and you write the character first, and then you write the superpowers.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So that's what allows you to write anything. All right, question. Can Storm summon her great sword staff without wearing her armor?
I think she can.
He hasn't written it yet. We'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. So far she doesn't use it without the armor. But I think if like someone smashes her armor, she can still summon the staff.
Especially when you use the there's energy in the staff theory.
Yeah.
She should be able to do it. Howard Yates, will ANET make an appearance in this series?
Now that's very good to be bad because I don't even know who that is. So let me first Google that
ANET?
first.
You've seen her before. The name probably just isn't familiar. Because I know you read that X-Men Gold story.
Oh
when
yeah.
Paris came back.
Oh,
Yeah,
I read the
yeah.
X-Men Ghost story. That's true. That's true. That's true. Is that like no? It complicates our origin and stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I like the role she played.
Lady Kerrigan
Yeah.
says, isn't she dead?
Yeah, she's dead, but
So
Is
the
dead,
easiest
but
answer would be no, she's dead.
not necessarily. There can be
No.
flashbacks and stuff.
Nobody's dead in comics.
Yeah, like David Monroe did play a role even though he's dead.
Yeah.
So stuff like
Yeah.
that.
All right, Moody Reese has
Um,
another question.
I can't say no, Sham. I can't say no. Yeah, I like the role she plays and stuff. So we'll see.
When Storm and Eternally fully sync, are we getting a new design? Please, please, please.
Oh, Reese.
Don't ask Lucas Wernick to design yet another outfit for her, because that man will do it.
Yeah, I think at this point he loves the designs. I'm scripting that issue currently. Not scripting, I'm outlining that issue currently. And she might even fuse with another cosmic entity, who knows, So we have to wait and see, but we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see.
How did it feel to work with other X-Men characters during the Manhunt event? That's a good question. Oh, it's eclectic.
Oh yeah,
it's a good question.
Oh yeah, I had fun with that. Yeah, the hates after the book came out was like pretty much and stuff like that. But while writing it, I had fun. And after the hate died down and my mental health was back in place, I still like the experience. I enjoyed it. I freaking loved it. Like, I think only people have the opportunity to be able to juggle that much character.
Yeah.
And usually when I write, I read comics. I read and write and read and write. So when I have a break, I read some comics and stuff like that. And what I was doing most of the time was even reading Powers of X and some other comics. So it was just a fun experience overall because Powers of X is very nice. And so yeah, I had fun with it. I had fun writing Cyclops. Um, Another thing I wanted to do is praise, Storm fans. People don't know how badass Storm fans are. Storm has gotten punctured by Aegon's claws. Storm has gotten smashed to the ground by a god. Storm has gone through some of the most terrible things. And
Had her haircut.
yeah. And Cyclops gets stabbed by Wolverine, and Cyclops fans are like, "Oh my god, he has bruised his ego! Oh my god, how dare it!" Ah! And I'm like,
They haven't
"Oh,
recovered from him being frozen.
and I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" Like, and I'm like, "Oh, you wouldn't do this to Storm. You wouldn't do this to Storm." And I'm like, "Dude, have you been reading issue 1? She's been bleeding since issue 1. Like in issue 1, she was stabbed by this. She was this. Like she was coughing up blood in issue 2, and so many things." And I'm like, and Storm fans are like, yeah, bring on the pain, and they are cool with it. Like, and it's funny that you think it's the male character fandom that will be more
Yeah.
willing to, like, say, yeah, rough up our guy. Our guy is macho if he has scars, if he has battle scars. But it's funny that it's the Storm fandom that's like, yeah, let's see the battle scars.
Yeah.
One of the early artwork that Dotson did of
Yes.
Storm
Storm from the
was
back.
revealing Storm with battle scars at the back.
Mhm.
If you do that with any other female character, a lot of people will be like, no, our princess is too beautiful. She shouldn't have scars. Storm fans are like, yes, that's our queen. She has scars for the battle she has gone through. So yeah. So that one I was like, yeah. So that's one praise I needed to give to Storm fans there. So I had fun with it. I had fun giving John Wraith this. A lot of people didn't know who John Wraith was. So getting to give him this big power up there, like
Upgrade. Yeah, you had him
That
on
was
the
very
entire
enjoyable.
ship. You'd never done that before.
And also explain how his power works, about how cool his power is.
Yeah.
So people try to give him visual effects. Like, no, he doesn't have visual effects. He just shows up.
Mhm.
It just shows up, and then showing
Deadlier
up with
that
that
way.
big, and it's cooler that way. So it was very
Yeah.
spectacular. Giving Oya that super massive distant, and and Rogue being like, "Did you have that much firepower?" And it's like, "Yeah, you got in our way,"
And I'm so glad you
it's a-
said that. I'm so glad you said that part.
yeah, so it was just fun. I just had fun with a lot
Yeah.
of all the characters, especially the black characters.
Yeah.
Storm was badass. John
Yeah.
Wraith was badass. Oya was badass just for just 2 panels, So I had fun with it, and putting all those sound effects and all those everything. So I was like, man, I had fun with.
You keep this up, they're gonna make you a Uncanny X-Men or X-Men writer and take you off a Storm.
No, they can't do
Don't
that.
let Jed or Gail Simone murder me or something.
But
Speaking of Gail Simone, the question is, how did the collaboration process work with you and Gail? Did you two brainstorm first, then write, or brainstorm while writing?
Now people are going to say they don't like this, but I love it. The way X-Manhunt worked, when editorial told us about X-Manhunt, like, we're going to have Imperial. Jonathan Hickman wants to do this story with Imperial. He will need Xavier, he will need Lilandra. He's thinking about doing this story. We're thinking, let the X-Office handle that bit of the story. So we're going to have this event, it's going to be X-Manhunt, stuff like that. And I sent an email to Tom, like, I would love to spearhead this, and so Gail was also interested, so we agreed to both spearhead it. And there's this thing that Tom Brevoort did on a project years back. I think it's called, I'm not sure. I think it's Spider-Man Full Circle or something, where all these big creators, they write an issue and then they end it in the most ridiculous way. And then the next
Yeah.
creative team has to like work with that and end it in another ridiculous way
Mhm.
till everything, and then the person that starts it now ends it. And then somehow you get these various wild stories, but somehow if you read it all together, it's kind of cohesive. So they did that thing with Tom Brevoort, and I really wanted us to do that. So even though we the whole team had this kind of Zoom meeting where we talked about the plot, all the stuff, I kind of wanted to do that. So so when Gail did a story in issue one, and NYX did their own, I was like, I'm going to put a wrench in this thing. I'm going to take this thing off the rails. So I'm like, fuck X-Man Hunt. I'm going to put Eternal Storm here and fuck this whole shit up. And and Eternal Storm coming there, and then Cyclops gone. This what's this guy's name? Beast is in a trance. This thing. And if you notice, if you get to that spot, everything just becomes crazy, mad. I like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is going on here? So I'm like, yes. And I'm sure at the beginning, Jed was like, "Whew, what's wrong with you? And later Jed had fun with it too. And it brings it all back and everything. If you know, like, a lot of people say some of the most exciting part of the story is that kind of X-Men 13 kind of beat, because it just goes crazy, and then he has to like
Yeah.
assemble everything, and then it's like this beautiful thing. So I'm like, you know what, everybody that go crazy will try to wrap everything up in Omega. So we do Omega the same way too. So I write like the first 30 pages. So and then I end it with the stab to Cyclops's guts.
Mhm.
That's why I end the story. So almost in my head, like, imagine if the story ends here and says to be continued, you're crazy, you're done. So and then Gail, sorry, I've messed you up again. I just stabbed Cyclops. Is Cyclops dead? Is Cyclops not dead? You're in trouble now. Finish the story. I'm gone, that kind of thing. And then she's like, okay, okay, okay. So I think she was not like, okay, I'm not going to go all bombastic thing like you're doing. I'm going to try to like do something like an emotional story, and then
And bring it back in.
she makes it sober, she calms it down, and then she tells like this sober story and everything. And I
Yeah.
know quite some readers that read and said they cried when they read that bit. So so that was our own approach
I
to it
think
and
the
everything.
OG
So, yeah.
fans understood what was happening. And I just want to take a quick second to say I personally really enjoyed Omega for what it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really fun book. Being one of the OG fans, I remember when Xavier wasn't what he was today. A lot of these younger fans are so performative, and they're so, I just don't understand how you could be so one-track minded about something, because you can have a family member that you don't speak to anymore. That doesn't mean that you don't still love them, doesn't mean that they weren't still developmentally, like, fundamental to you and your life. So you would absolutely have an emotion and a reaction to this person in different circumstances, especially leaving in the way that he did. And I just think a lot of people miss that. I'm not saying that there wasn't stuff that could have been done differently. Sure, that's any story. But I think overall for these characters, it doesn't really matter what he does, because he'll always in some way be a father figure to them. And
Right.
that's just it.
Some people said, some people said stories like, oh yeah, we've already seen this story of the old father figure allegory story, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
Like, does your father stop being your father? Like, oh,
Yeah.
people say the stories of, some people tell the stories of the time where they've actually fought with their father before, like physically.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. After that day, It's not like, oh, the tension ends and now
No.
it's done. It still stays.
Yeah.
It still stays. In fact, if boundaries are not met and stuff, it would still happen again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And
So
it
yeah.
just
So
blows my
that's
mind how
true.
people are so willing to damn Charles Xavier. But Magneto, who I love, who's probably my second favorite mutant, but Magneto's literally an X-Man. So, like where's the
No,
balance here?
no,
Yeah.
no. I don't blame fans that are hard on Xavier. I think it's just a matter of age.
Yeah.
Age
Correct.
shapes your perspective.
Yeah.
When you are younger, you look up to people that are older than you, and when you see flaws in those older people, you feel so disappointed.
That's
You are
fair.
harsh at them and stuff like that. But as you grow older, you realize that, oh, older people are they're just normal
Human.
people too. They're just regular people too. I then realize I just become, less this, I think there's this line that um I wrote about in X-Men Not, where Rogue says, "Oh, Storm and Wolverine, like, and Gambit also, they've all been criminals."
Criminals. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they believe in a redemption path.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, "Yeah, but they were kids when it happened, compared to Xavier that did his own crimes, as an adult, that is all different and everything." It's like, yeah, but I think it's because you're still young. When you grow older, you realize that adults are just kids too,
Yeah,
pretending to
to some extent. Yeah.
be grown up, like sometimes people don't even make mistakes when they are young, they make the mistakes when they are older,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sometimes it might even be a parent, and your parents tells you a story and you're like, you did that before, and
Mm-hmm.
and it almost changes how you look at them completely,
Nothing.
and so many things. So yeah, it's I think it's age. Age affects how you view stories, which
Absolutely.
is fine. Which
Yeah.
is fine. There's so many stories we've watched now. You don't even need to rewatch them. You just grow older and just remember that story, and you're like, oh, I think I judged it so harshly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
So Black Claw asks, what can we expect from issue 8, particularly cameos?
Issue 8 is mostly new characters. It's mostly
Really?
new characters. Yeah, that's true. I've not been creating new characters in this book at all, which I said in issue 1 to 5. So yeah, it's going to be new characters, FBI agents. Oh yeah, Manifold. Manifold is coming issue 8.
Yeah.
Uh, and Gateway. Yes, Gateway still has his loincloth, by the way. Sorry, Paul. This
What?
is my reason.
You couldn't give
This
that
is
man
my
a decent
reason.
pair of drawers. Come on, Maria.
remember my reason. This is my reason.
What's the reason?
I went to do my research
Yeah.
with the Aboriginals and
Mhm.
stuff, and I see people doing weddings wearing loincloth
Yeah.
till dates and everything. I was like, like if I give him like pattern shirts that and stuff, I think I would be guilty of what creators in the past did when they did things like that were like cultural erasure,
Mm.
that let me not go for cool, and then like it should be cool but also culturally appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
That if the people of this tribe wear loincloth for celebratory events, I think they are cool with it.
So you're saying he's going to have a loincloth, but it's going to have some type of cool color pattern on it.
I don't know, but the way it's drawn is it doesn't look too bad. But I had to keep the loincloth when I did the research. I was like,
No, that makes
I'm not-
perfect sense. No, that explanation makes perfect sense. I appreciate the fact that you actually did the research
Yeah.
to determine whether or not it would be culturally appropriate to change his outfit. And I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about the
Yeah.
fact that that's part of
yeah.
his
What I try to do when I look for cultural clothes you don't just look for, oh yeah, like what do they wear and stuff. I look at weddings. I look at weddings and celebrations and stuff like that. Like, what is the most heightened version? Because superhero stuff is heightened. So what is the most heightened version? And at the most heightened version, somebody still wears the loincloth. I'm like,
Yeah, go
man,
with the loincloth.
I think it's that important.
I'm thinking about what Tom Brevoort said about you. He's like, oh, nobody's introducing more black characters than Maria. Let's go through the list. We got Frenzy, Maggot, Manifold, Gateway. You just dropped that you're going to bring
Voodoo.
back Gentle, Dr. Voodoo.
Shango.
Oh my God. You're killing it. You're killing it, man. You're trying to outpace Cody Ziegler. All right.
And
It would be cool if Storm would use her knives as vectors to electrocute or freezes her opponents. Oh, good God.
very possible. Yeah, those are the kind. See, you guys, you see what I'm saying now? Like, this is what we're doing. So if I ever, when I leave Storm, we're already having like badass writers. They're saying like, yes, this is how to use our powers that are going to be cool, rather than the old.
And she'll have like vibranium daggers because they'll be able to conduct the energy even more efficiently. She throws a dagger, stabs you with it, and then the electricity just. That's
or,
awesome.
or maybe those daggers will be linked to chains, almost like scorpions. Get over here. But when she does it,
right,
it freezes you like Sub-Zero. And then draws it back. She can do cool things. She'll be able to do cool things with her powers like that.
Yeah.
Instead of just freezing you.
Save it for God Wars. Save it for God Wars, man. All right. Can you also tell us how many issues you have been greenlit for so far? Basically, you've been greenlit for number 20 and above because X-Men Reddit is preying on your downfall. Jeez, X-Men Reddit people.
Oh yeah. Oh, now let me give a comment about X-Men Reddit. Now, I've empathized with Ororo fans, like Storm fans. Storm fans, man, you all go through like a lot of nonsense. But I'm also happy that you don't allow it to bother you or anything. When I started writing, when the Storm comic started, I noticed on the X-Men subreddit, they didn't post a lot about Storm. And I was shocked, like, why? And gradually, I think at some point, I even like created some account and posted some stuff, and later they started posting more Storm stuff, and it was getting traction. There was positive feedback. There was this, there was that. And maybe for some reason, they now felt threatened by the success of the series and of the character. And so what they do now is, before even the book comes out, so that this is what sometimes they try to do it on Twitter, but it doesn't work. So this is what they do. They post before the book comes out to quickly seize the narrative. So I think there's one that tries to do on Twitter. No, so before the book comes out, like almost like sometimes full 24 hours before the book comes out, they post and they can say something like, yeah, Storm beats all the entire 5 gods in this book because the writer is obsessed with just making Storm too powerful. And you're like, that's not what happens in the book
at all.
They've seized the narrative. Yeah, but they've seized the narrative, and then you see like 3 bad comments and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed the book, you are now scared to talk because who wants to go to a room where everybody's saying one thing and you want to say the other thing, So that's what they do. They post very early. Sometimes Storm, like even on Twitter, if you look at X spoilers, the Storm comic was posted even before the X-Men book, and it was the negative one. So that's what they try to do, So, but what Storm fans does is that they just checked out. If you see some of the Storm posts, it doesn't even get a lot of reactions. You might just see 20 likes and all those stuff. They just leave them there. X-Men stuff will get like 500 stuff. There's this new subreddit called Ororo. People have gone there. People go there to like stuff. There's Marvel Storm. also there on subreddit. People have moved there. Like, if you just want to be haters, yeah, just continue, just continue. So yeah, so that's the thing. But for how many issues the book has been greenlit for, it's right now it's technically 15. But I can't say too much on how the 15 is split because it will give spoiler for a big announcement that has not been made yet.
Ooh. Like the sound of that. Shout out to Zazel Valentine. Thank you for another super chat.
No, there was a question before about Black
Oh.
Panther. I don't think I read it.
It was a statement. It said, I would love to see Morea write Black Panther. Or I'd love to see his take on Black Panther, something like that.
Oh yeah. I can't reveal my take much because
Because
in
it's
case
secret.
in case I'm asked to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't give your
I probably won't. I probably won't do it the same time as Storm though.
I will
that-
say this: if
I'll
you
be
were
fighting
to
too many
ever,
people.
if you were to ever write Black Panther, the story I would like to see you write with regard to that, given your knowledge and predilection for being able to go into mysticism and folklore and deities, is that we really haven't explored. Since Sherilyn Eaton did the deepest dive on Wakanda's gods, I would love to see you take what she did and run with it even further. That's the story I would like to see you do.
Yeah, that's even when I did a little short story for Shuri, that's what I did. Wakanda has tech. The tech took the back seats. This tech was there, but it was just I wasn't telling a sci-fi story, even though there was sci-fi elements. I was telling more of a fantasy mythical story that's add a little science. Yeah.
All right,
So I
so
probably
Zazel
will be doing the whole. So I probably will be doing the whole. And the canon shot this thing. It'll probably be like more monsters and this, but yeah.
Well, along those lines, and I talk about this all the time, Wakanda has a huge mystical side that was explored by Don McGregor in Jungle Action. There's a lot of elements there that haven't been touched upon in a very long time. Even more recently, with He Who Shall Not Be Named by Me on this channel ever again. In his run, he even talked about the fact that there's a group of witches that are in Wakanda. So there's a lot of material for you to play with if you were to ever do that. All right. So Azazel Valentine, if Reddit is preying on your downfall, then I'm praying to all the African gods and ancestors for your success, bro. Keep kicking ass. There you go.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I've started using Elay on Twitter to curse people.
Nice. You know what? I'm gonna do the same thing, Antoine. I'm gonna follow your lead on that. Eclectic Birdie Niche, how much of the incarnation of Oblivion in the beginning of the story was your input? And Luciano's, the version of Oblivion is truly nightmare fuel. I think he's talking about the visual look. How much input did you have?
Oh yeah. I'm leaning more into the old cosmic Leviathan thing because of the old Storm God thing. Like I told you, a Storm God's arch nemesis is a Leviathan. In fact, the word Leviathan is taken from Lotan, which is also like the antithesis of the Storm God Baal. So it's
All right. Does the spear have a name? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, I wrote it down somewhere. I've forgotten. Because the reason why I've forgotten is because the name was originally a name that Dotun was like, no, you can't give him that name. So then so it's that name is still always what is in my head. The name is Static. And Dotun was like, you can't give a superhero name to a weapon. It's derogatory to that superhero name. What the hell are you doing? And stuff like that.
No, so as a milestone stan, I can tell you that would be a horrible idea.
So that name is still always stuck in my head, even though I wanted to change it and stuff like that.
Just name it Shock.
Yeah. Marvel's lawyers would be all over you, Maria. Like, are you trying to get a suit by DC and Milestone? No, don't do that. All right. How much more of that magical lineage is there to come?
Yeah, I'm planning to explore it bit by bit, but a magical lineage is something I plan to play with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's
Me
why we
too.
keep referencing Ashake.
This scene was nice. It was a throwback to their days of Extreme X-Men, and if I remember correctly, didn't Storm draft Sage onto the team in the first place? I think she even gave her the code name.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All
those
right.
are some of the little things that were said that newer readers didn't get from X-Manons.
Yeah.
Saying that, oh, everybody was just out of character. Like, yeah, because you only read the Kakwaya books. Rogue, Storm, and Sage were on the same X-Men team, Extreme X-Men.
Yep. With
Mm.
Gambit
So,
and Bishop as well.
Yes.
yeah, so that's why it's easy for them to be on the same team, and Cyclops was in another team.
Yes.
You know, so the ladies knew each other, they're close, and
Yeah.
they all sympathize with Xavier, you know, and stuff like
That was the first comic series that I ever collected from start to finish. So
Really?
I have very fond memories of Extreme X-Men because that was my
Yeah,
my real
think-
introduction into collecting.
Art
I
by
think the
Carlos
costume is his
Pacheco.
favorite costume because of the cheeks.
Salvador LaRocca, actually.
Salvador
He-
LaRocca. Sorry,
yeah.
you're right.
Carlos,
you're right.
but
Salvador-
Carlos did a variant cover for #2. He did.
Yeah. Let's see. Why are the Storm Gods so angry at Aurora and ready to kill her? It seems because she's calling herself a Storm God and she's lesser than in their view.
No, that's not why they're attacking her. That's just part of the things why it's just upsetting and everything. The real reason they're attacking her is going to be revealed in I think Storm 10 or Storm 11.
Okay.
It is in Thunder War. It's all this is prelude to Thunder War. So this is the inciting incidents. This is what sparks it. So we're good to and you know, in inciting incidents, it's not always explained. You know, oh, and then a meteor came down, and then a distant came, you know, and then as the story continues, you now learn, oh yeah, this is what happened, and yeah, so it's in Thunder War, we now learn more context for why are the gods here, why are they fighting her, and stuff like that. You know, there is a reason why Eternity didn't show up. So yeah, so you know, things like that. Eternity showed up when the X-Men were attacking her, but it didn't show up when the Thunder Gods were attacking her. Why? You know, so all
'Cause
those
he's a
things will be
punk.
gradually revealed.
Because he's a punk. Common Sense. Thank you for super chat. Hello, Mr. Ayadelli. I discovered you from your I Am Man. Really fun. Are there things you want to share about working on the comic?
Yeah, working on the comic was
Yeah.
working on the comic was really good, and I think this was the comic that probably taught me how to properly research when working in like Marvel Comics, because the comic goes through different eras of Iron Man. I had to learn how to like research different eras and also be able to think about theme. Like, okay, even though this era, this 10-year, this decade, because I was also thinking in decade, this decade of Iron Man, even though like 5 writers wrote in this decade, is there something they were subconsciously all writing towards? You know, and then I kind of get the central theme and then try to write that story. So you know, working with different costumes, different designs, different armor, you know, and you know, so yeah, it's I learned a lot about that. And when also that's on the storytelling side. On the back side is as a creator, I've heard a lot of things in podcasts, for example, where someone says, you know, oh yeah, you are you are a female creator that's doing well, that's doing this, you know, and everybody's getting to write their own event and stuff like that. How come you've never written your own event? The industry is very misogynistic and stuff like that. And you know, and the writer is like, yeah, the industry might be unfair to women and stuff, but actually I've never pitched an event myself. And they're like, oh, so like you didn't think it was possible, you know. So I am Iron Man because no one reached out to me to write I am Iron Man. I pitched I am Iron Man to Tom Brevoort. So it also taught me, like, you know, sometimes when you are in the minority or anything, learn to shoot your shots.
Yeah.
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 Learn to shoot your shots. Like yeah, I would like to write this Iron Man series, this stuff. X-Man Hunts, I shot the shots. Like, oh yeah, I am fast. I document this. I this that. I listed out my qualities. Why I think I'm good at this. I know how to write multiple characters and this and this. I wrote this email highlighting all my strengths and storytelling this and why I think I would be good to write the Omega issue. So it's also not in the comic book industry, in our lives. We should learn to shoot our shots.
Mhm.
Worst case scenario.
One thing your haters will
getting
never be able to accuse you of is that you're not working hard. That you definitely put in your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Butterfly Kiss. Hey, what's up, Butterfly Kiss? The question: the narration states she is not a real god like the other storm gods. Do the storm gods also question she is a true storm god, as Shock seemed to imply when she tried to retreat?
Yeah, I think this is also something I also see in a lot in discussions. Things characters says are always different from things narration say. So I see it too, like when a character says something and people use it as a defense for their character, like, oh yeah, the watcher said, sorry to bring this character into the mix, but this is the example I can think of. Oh, the watcher said the phoenix is second to the one above all and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, the watcher said, like, that's the limits to which the watcher knows. The watcher is not a primordial entity. It wasn't there it wasn't there when existence was being made. It wasn't yet. He's one of the beings that came later. So what does he know? Or when if Iron Man says, oh yeah, is you are one of the most powerful destinies, he can only say that because he's on Earth and all those stuff. That's the limit of his knowledge and ability and stuff like that. And sometimes people say things rhetorically, people say things the narration is closer to, let's say, the author, especially when it's written in omniscient narration, not from perspective of another character. So it's saying technically she's not a real storm god. She's not born immortal. She's like a far descendant of one, like far descendant of Oshtor. And so in technical terms, she's not proper immortal. But Chak saying it is not claiming that, oh yeah, you're already a storm god. It's like almost like somebody told me you're a storm god. Like, you see, I know you are not a storm god. Like a storm god who retreats. Like, no, you are not.
Right.
So yeah, so people speaking, people are rhetorical, people are sarcastic, people are this, when it comes to all this dialogue. So not everything should be taken word for word, so it's like, you call yourself a storm god, because the narration literally says a self-proclaimed storm god. So it's like, so if you call yourself a storm god and you are the storm god who retreats, shameful.
Mhm.
If you're at least going to pretend to be a storm god, at least pretend well.
Hadar Yao says, do you think we'll see her making weaponry defenses with other elements besides air and lightning?
Yeah, we just did in issue 7. She makes one with water.
That's right. She did
So
Steve Turner, thank you for super chat. The Heat Dome shield in Marvel Voices was a cool use.
yeah, very cool.
Malachi Monroe. So Storm striking Scott from thousands of miles away is a callback to her sensing the changes in Jean's life force when she became the Phoenix. I don't think that's how that worked.
Not quite.
Yeah, it's more of a callback to X-Men, Worlds Apart, and some other comics. But I think it's slightly different here, because the Phoenix is like, the energy signature from the Phoenix is super, super powerful. It's not as subtle as something like Cyclops' energy.
Wow, Lady Kerrigan with the deep questions. Did you note it to the artist to do the thumb pull versus the 3-finger pull archery? Did you give him that
Oh,
level of detail?
no, I just used the reference image, that's all. And even the reference image I used, it wasn't pulled that way. I think I used from Jujutsu Kaisen. My Sukuna. Yeah, I used the old Sukuna, and his own pool was way different and stuff like that.
Will the one above all be present in issue 8? Will we get an explanation in the book about why God wants Storm's help? Another question, does Black Winter have any connection to Oblivion? That's like 3 or 4 questions.
Wait, number one, I think this person is reading my script somewhere or something. Ow, the first question came out of freaking nowhere. Ow. And the answer is yes. Issue 8, you're going to see the one above all.
Wow.
And we slightly tweak his design. I like his new design now. Just a
Nice.
slight tweak. So yeah, we'll see the one above all in issue 8.
We get an explanation in the book about why God wants Storm's help.
No.
Well, the assumption is that it's the one of above all who's doing the narration and is seeking Storm's help.
Yeah. The part of seeking Storm's help and that part, the intentions of let me just say the intentions of the one above all, that might be revealed around issue 11, 12.
The very fact the one above all is even noticing Storm and using Storm and interacting with Storm is pretty significant.
Well, she is the most powerful being in the universe right now.
Right.
It's significant, but if you also know the character of the one above all, it's also not significant. The one above all is similar to Judeo-Christian God. Basically, he's also the embodiment of love. And sometimes he just takes note of something just because of sheer attention. Like, oh yeah, you're going through a rough time. Let me share that with you. He did it with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man wasn't like super powerful or anything at any point and stuff like that. So the one above all is not as petty and stuff as the other gods. It's not as prideful as any of them. The one above all sometimes even comes down to live as a human being and then go back and stuff like that. So he's more fluid and more relaxed and more is different to the other entities. So if you think of him like that, if eternity shows up, it's important. The one above all can show up and it's not important.
Okay. Butterfly Kiss says, it was announced Eternal Storm is the most powerful being in the universe. How will you show this when characters like Phoenix and Franklin Richards exist? That's a big sigh.
Number one, I think Franklin Richards might not even be in the competition per se. It's Phoenix that might at least be in the competition.
Yeah, Franklin's
and I think even Franklin Richards at his height of the power he made Galactus his herald. So let's just say at max is at the same power level as the Black Winter. And the threat coming is more than Black Winter's, and Oblivion is higher than Black Winter. So, and Storm has to face Oblivion. So I think Franklin Richards is maybe a little bit out of his depth here. For Phoenix, the way I think about it is, especially for characters that are heroes, everybody has their own realm. The land of shouldn't be, wouldn't be, or something like that is the Queen of Nevers. Mm-hmm. I like to think that's where she's strong. That's why the Queen of Nevers is strongest. So if you are to face, for example, the Scarlet Witch there, because our power is basically based on powers of possibilities, chaos, and all those stuff. If you should face her there, it's impossible to beat her. Impossible. Because that's basically what that place is a place of possibility. And she's in charge of possibility. And for the Phoenix, it's the White Hot Room. So if she's in the White Hot Room, she's impossible to defeat. She's it's impossible. Like there's nothing you want to do. And I see Storm to the universe as that as well. Storm dies, she comes up 2 seconds later in issue 4. It's like, yeah, I'm still here, because she's connected to the universe, and anything happens, she has all the, and I think even in the press release by Stephanie is like, oh yeah, Phoenix can draw powers from the stars and all those stuff. And it's like, yeah, but Storm is everything. Like eternity is everything. The stars, everything, the gases, everything will be powering up Storm. Will be powering up Eternal Storm, especially if she's fully synced. So there's nothing you can do. So for you to be able to defeat Storm in the universe, you must be higher than the primordials, So yeah. And that's what we're cooking up in Thunder War. We're cooking up threats that are more powerful than, the primordials.
Dodge Silk says he's got you 36 issues. Haters gonna hate.
Thanks, man.
Will Storm have aid from the goddess of rain and thunder, Mujaji? Two Wakanda goddesses unite. We haven't seen Mujaji since Black Panther's Coates run. Was he? Actually, we might have seen them in Black Panther Blood Hunt for the flashback. Last question.
We'll see. We'll see in Thunder War.
We'll see in Thunder War. All right. What else we got? Any other questions? We can't keep this man all night. Question. Eternal Storm is revealed as most powerful being in the universe, and
I think we did that one already.
Oh, yeah. Where do the Enders reside?
Huh. This might be a big spoiler, but let's just say they are in the Oblivion Void.
Okay. Royal, your version of Storm feels like a combination of Wonder Woman, Poison Ivy, Mira, and Zatanna. Is that an accurate assessment? That seems underpowered to me.
I think it might be in characterization and connection to I don't know, because I didn't think of her as a combination. I just addressed her as she is. So I don't even know the combination. Like, she doesn't even move or fight or anything like Wonder Woman. Her powers are not plant-based like Poison Ivy, Her magic aesthetics is very, very different from Zatanna's, because I'm going all juju and voodoo. So yeah, it's I think I just see her as I didn't combine anything per se. Sometimes I might see similarities, but funny enough, I think I see similarities more with Superman than even Wonder Woman at times. And the reason why I see with Superman is just the fact that, oh yeah, this is just the way Superman is just a walking powerhouse of, yeah, he can just suddenly have X-ray vision and kiss you, and then you forget everything in the last 30 minutes, reverse time, do this, all that. I just see Storm that way, but with like a different set of power sets. Like, oh yeah, ours is, oh yeah, energy manipulation in this way. I can sense radiation. I can do this. So yeah, it's more of that.
Well, there's a good question. Is there a hierarchy of the 5 storm gods, or do they operate at the same power level, more or less, and victory depends more on skill? Who's the boss?
I don't think they would see themselves as any having bosses. But what I plan to do is, especially which you see a little in this issue if you look properly, is even though they are all storm gods and they all have the same power sets, the way they fight is different. The way they move is different, you know. Like what Susano does, for example, is he augments his reflexes with electricity. So making him move faster. So you can see him moving faster than all the rest, like boom, 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 you know, and stuff like that, you know. Chak is more of, you know, the bruiser, you know, like just brutal force, you know. And you know, Mamarangan is more tactical, is watching, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say any is more powerful than the other of all the five gods.
Whose idea was it to make Shock's fearsome face a mask?
I think Chak mythologically wears a mask, so we knew we are going to bring that. So it was just to make sure to bring the tears from the mythology.
Since the surfer has this new power, will he now be held to a higher standard being this powerful? Since there is a hierarchy of power, will there be new rules? Will he be called will he will
Will he
be
be,
called to be a
will
champion?
he be called to be a champion? Um, Now this is going to sound very unthoughtful for the guy that's always thoughtful. Number one, I just wanted to give him a cool design. That's one. That's I just wanted a silver surfer that was just oozing smoke and was dark in color, you know, black and oozing smoke. So his power set with silver surfer is basically still the same. But it's just elevated and oozing smoke. So yeah. But we're going to be seeing him still play the role of surfer, where he's a pacifist but has to fight against his will to fight, because fighting means more people will live than die because of the role he has to play in the universe. So, and yeah, there's a line he's going to say in a future issue. It might change when the script's done, but he says, you know, I would rather fight with a storm god by my side, you know. So yeah, just things like that.
The salamander is a mythical creature or magic spawn or super serum creature.
It's a magical, it's a mythological creature, like I said. It's if you Google it, Pia is an actual creature in Australian mythology that regurgitates thunderclouds. So it's not a construct or anything, it's an actual creature.
Will we see Storm breathing fire? We already know she can agitate the air molecules to make heat. No, dude, Dragon Storm.
Yeah. Okay, it won't be a spoiler because you won't know when it would happen and you won't know the context of which it happens. But the answer is yes.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
Oh yeah, she breathes.
That's
She
dope.
breathes.
She breathes fire.
She can breathe fire. Like I said in a previous issue, people think, oh, we're not being creative with Storm when we don't give her heat powers. She chooses not to go in that direction. She chooses not to use heat because of restraints. So if Storm uses heat powers, something is wrong. Is it that she's scared? Is it that she's scared and she had to use it as a like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and had to use it? Or she's so angry, she's so pissed, she had to use it.
So we've seen Storm do air bending, water bending, and now she's going to do fire bending.
Yeah. And earthquakes are coming too, right?
How dare you?
Why would you give that spoiler, Antoine? That was...
I didn't give a spoiler. I asked a question. That was a question.
Come on, man.
I didn't know that to be true. I just asked the question because we're talking about the elements. I didn't do
At some
anything.
point, maybe she's going to have a little tattoo here. There's an arrow.
She's already
All
lost a
right.
lot of her hair.
Okay. Any chance Ghostlight will surface? Oh God, that would be amazing.
I'm not sure yet.
If you have any inkling of a desire to have Ghostlight, hit up John Jennings. He would be more than happy to help you with that. What made you revive Susanoo? Was he
Yeah,
dead?
I think we already said that because he has a cool name. He's popular. He's a storm god. Um, yeah, and yeah, he also beats Yamato no Orochi, a serpent. So, which we need storm gods that have killed serpents before.
How did Storm not get KO'd from the God Slam? Enhanced durability or something else? Well, she got slammed into the water,
Comic
though.
books, comic books.
She got slammed into the water. It absorbed the blow.
Yeah, I think it was in the script. That's true. It was actually in the script. Like it's because of the water.
Couldn't Voodoo separate the ashes since he's death adjacent magically?
Oh yeah, that's literally the exact dialogue that is in issue 8.
Wow. You've got
That since
Storm fans are smart. They're figuring out all the plot points before it even comes out.
yeah, which it's a line of dialogue in issue 3. He's a necromancer. He's all about death. So yeah, he's probably the only magic user that can separate the two ashes.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
whole
you're
goon.
correct.
Question: we saw this already. Will Majaji, the Wakandan goddess, make an appearance perhaps in Thunder War due to her ties with the war as another Wakandan goddess, aka the Hadari? Yeah,
We have to wait and see.
wait and see. Is that it? Did you look into any other Pacific cultures when researching gods for the series?
I checked, yeah, a lot. I've been checking a lot of cultures for storm gods stuff. I also don't want to overwhelm the readers because if they are too much too, then it's just not memorable.
Yeah. Any chance we'll get get a story that involves Forge, and if not, a rekindling, at least a proper closure to their former relationship?
Yeah, this also answers the question for Betsy because people also asked about Betsy a lot, and it's maybe now I can start considering it, but I couldn't plan it at all before because all these characters were in X-Force, and in X-Force, the story there was that they were all secrets. Nobody knew who they are. Nobody knew where they were. Nobody knew what they were doing, and they wanted to keep it that way. So there was no way we could craft any story regarding those characters whatsoever. So now that the story is coming to an end, maybe we can start.
Will you be tapping into her Black American heritage side and her hoodoo? Because you touched on soul food with her father, and there's a lot to be said.
Yeah.
She is living in Atlanta, and the X-Men are in Louisiana.
Yeah. That's the thing about this series too, which I also understand. I wish it was weekly, but then I might have died from the from the writing too. But that's also the thing. There's so many things that I want us to touch on, so that to keep things exciting. Oh yeah, we touch on the fact that she loved this food from Black American culture. She did this little spell from African hoodoo this thing, and then yeah, she interacted with this storm god. And little things, and then you build up with it, and then you build up. So it's you myself touching things like just minutely, and then come back. We might not be able to go too deep into just one aspect. So yeah, Black American heritage already touched upon. It will probably still be touched upon again, but to just be like we'll be touching bit by bit. for example, I've written a story about the father. I've written a short story about the mother. It's going to come out. I'm not sure when it will come out. It's not been solicited yet. But so it's just everything is just touching up so that hopefully one day all these things will be collected, and then when you now read it, it now feels it's because we're reading it monthly, so it feels like it's not enough. But hopefully, if it's long, when you read everything, you're like, whoa, this thing touched on every aspect of Storm. But if we should dig too deeply in one aspect, we might see that, oh yeah, we went 30 issues of this comic and we didn't even touch this aspect. We didn't even touch this aspect. But if just touch everything a little bit, I think it's more rewarding that way.
Is Storm going to be in the Illuminati?
I don't think the Illuminati would want her to join. She's too allow me to use the word self-righteous.
Yeah, she's not pragmatic enough for that.
Yeah.
Is Shango?
Oh, we can change them. We don't need to assassinate, this and that, and this, it's like,
no, that would not work.
We're already sent off to space. I'm sorry.
Is Shango at the same level of power as Odin when he absorbs the Odin force in the comics?
Wait, is Shango the same power level as Odin, or when Shango absorbs the Odin force, will he be the same power as Odin?
Sure, that's the question.
If is Shango as powerful as Odin in Marvel Comics? No.
Well, not yet. You said in Marvel Comics, no, but it's all a matter of the look. Whenever it comes to questions of how powerful is or who would win in a battle, the question is the answer is always it depends on who the writer is.
It depends on who the writer is, but yeah. But if Shango has Odin Force, of course, is now more powerful than the Odin Force because now he has his own power and Odin Force. So
yeah, that's reasonable. Taylor Love asks, "What happened to Craig the Corny Dude?"
Oh yeah, I had a story that was supposed to address it, but then
you shelved it because he's a corny dude and nobody cares.
No. I'll probably still touch up on it, but like I said, there's this big thing that Marvel's cooking that I'm currently addressing. So stories that I would have to write would have to come after that big thing that Marvel's cooking.
Yes, because there are bigger things than Craig the Corny Dude. All right, will we see more of Dr. Doom and what's happening around the world with one world under Doom, more like maybe the American flags being Latvian instead of the American, etc.?
We will see some of the effects of one world under Doom now that the FBI is investigating her, but Dr. Doom not yet. A lot of things are changing. That I might not be able to tell a very, very status quo changing story because somebody's already telling a status quo changing story with Doom. So yeah, so that would be because I think I already wrote a story where the Thing was going to show up for this Power FC, the Power Shifters fighting club,
That's next.
But then the Thing got killed in one world under Doom. So it's like, oh, sorry. Yeah.
Actually, I had a question based on you mentioning the FBI investigating Storm. One of the plots that you talked about early on or was in the solicits was that Storm was going to run for office. Is that still something that's going to happen?
Yes, she was supposed to run for office. I'm not sure yet until after this big thing happens. The big Marvel, the big X Office thing happens.
Yeah.
So, if you remember, Thunderworld was supposed to be issue 10 to 15, but it's 10 to 12 because of the big thing that would have to happen around that time.
You're intriguing me about this big thing. Antoine's ears are literally perking up like this.
Yeah, the big thing is basically in It's written like
Hmm.
in big text in the Bishop book that came out,
Time
the
slide.
Bishop and Cable book, Time Slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Will we ever get a proper Phoenix and Storm crossover? Love your work so far.
Well, to be honest with you, not at the rate things are going, and with all the Stan Wars and everything, I'm not sure.
That probably would not be healthy.
Yeah,
It's a
because
shame.
Because each fandom would be like, well, why can't you have her beat up her?
it's not even, it's not even that Stan's already going to like the writers to say things and stuff like that. So I don't know.
All right. Any other questions? This is a question is for Paul. Oh, for me. What would you do if T'Challa reunite after Aurora embraces her divinity and T'Challa must choose between continuing to worship Bast or worship Aurora exclusively?
Like, what happens if Ororo is now way more powerful than Bast?
I honestly know the answer to that question. He would literally worship Aurora because if you recall, T'Challa actually kind of turned away from Bast because Bast left Wakanda. So he's
Mhm.
like, why do I even have you? I mean, if you look at Tani Sakote's final run in Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, Bast left Wakanda. And he
Yeah.
was like, and she when she tried to come back, he was like, why would I even talk to you? You left us.
Yeah.
You're not here. In fact, when you left, who did I have my people worship? Where did we get the term Hadari Yao from? That's from the Black Panther comic books, because the Wakandans worshipped Storm as the Walker of Clouds. So the answer is it's already been said. He would worship Aurora. Love your run on Storm so far. Issue 4 was my favorite. More than this issue? Hopefully, we will get more character development for her emotionally, and we will see react to Eternity taking over her body.
Oh yeah. I've also been seeing a lot of that. This is what I can use to answer you. You remember in issue 1 where we see Eternal Storm, where he's like, "Oh, to me, my Eternal Storm,"
Yeah.
and we don't mention it again, and we never mention it again, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he forgot about it. He forgot about it. He forgot about it. He forgot about it." Yeah. Storm's reaction to Eternity taking over our body, I think that's what's happening here again. I have not forgotten about it. It's basically been scripted. It's basically been drawn. So it's coming. It's just Storm is not most other female characters in the Marvel universe, especially when she's not with her friends. Who do you think Storm will open up to right now? She's alone. The and Storm doesn't even usually open up. People catch her
Mm.
in the act.
Yep.
It's if something is bothering Storm, it's maybe Wolverine notices, Rogue notices, Jean Grey notices.
Mhm.
She's not the one that goes to say, you know, something is bothering me. Let me tell you that thing that's bothering me.
Storm
It's not that.
withdraws. Yeah.
Yeah. So now imagine a situation where there is no Wolverine, there is no Rogue, there is no Jean Grey. Heck, there's no T'Challa too. Nobody would notice she's just there with Margot. And Margot is just there, just having fun. It's just like, yeah, let's throw a party, and all those stuff. So, what happens as things keep getting worse?
I agree with Imposter. I think she'd probably open up to Thor. Thor's
But
probably
Thor's
the
We'll
not-
see how that
He's
yeah,
not
we'll see how
around.
that we'll see how that discussion goes in issue 8
yeah.
between them. Because Thor is also coming at a time where they just fought. And
Yeah.
she would open up to Thor note again, Storm is not the one that talks first. People notice. So the question is not we should open up to Thor. Is would Thor notice something wrong with our emotions and ask about it? That's
Right.
the question.
Yeah.
So yeah. So but now she's alone and everything. So
Yeah.
what happens when the character that people always ask her to open up and there's nobody to ask her to open up? What happens? She keeps it bottled up.
Mhm.
She pretends like it doesn't exist. She keeps
Mhm.
moving forward. And what happens when the pressure keeps? What happens when the pressure continues? What happens when the pressure continues and there's nowhere to unleash it? So
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
I can't
Very true.
imagine a Storm on a bad day.
And that's literally our entire life history of oh
Mhm.
yeah, Storm is always had this super self-control.
Yeah.
Storm is always composed. Storm is this. So what happens when she has no opportunity to
To let
like
loose. Yeah.
and all that pressure continues as a solo hero? That's the difference between Storm on a team and Storm on her own.
Mhm.
People are expecting Storm on a team,
Yep.
but
Yep.
this is Storm on her. This is Storm solo.
And it's
Storm
not
on the
clicking.
X-Men. Storm on the X-Men would have opened up to Rogue. Rogue
Yeah.
would have asked something, other stuff. But this is Storm as a solo hero. It's different. So people are like, oh yeah, but Storm would have done this on an X-Men team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are these little things that people
Yeah.
are getting. So
Yeah.
yeah. So let's see what happens when the pressure keeps building up.
And I think if you're a really seasoned Storm fan, you'll also notice in each issue how she's unraveling a little bit more. Like if you really look around the edges, you start seeing little things that's like, huh, what's going on there? It's number 7
Yeah.
especially. There's 2 instances. When she goes after that snake, you see how angry she gets.
Yeah.
And then when she goes back to the Storm Sanctuary, that's not really typical Storm behavior to, number one, be that angry and yelling at somebody, go get my armor, bring me my sword, I'm going after these people. Regular Storm would be like, all right, I need a plan. Let me call the Avengers or the X-Men. Let's get a team together. We're going to go and jump them. And this is what we're going to do. So
Gang,
there's
gang.
this, yeah, exactly. So
That's what people have not noticed, that if you just take issue 1 of this Storm series and issue 7 and then put them side by side and start looking at how Storm facial expressions alone are,
mhm,
you see how different they are, how
mhm.
she's acting. In Storm issue 1, she's the one that's even telling Frenzy like, oh, we save everyone, like, relax, calm down, we're saving everyone, even though there's this Orkis member there, don't get riled up, don't get everything, we save everyone. She's the one getting angry at a freaking snake, like, go to sleep already,
Right.
So
Right.
you can start seeing that there's a difference. There's a difference, so that's what it's the pressure is building. The pressure is building.
It's a
All
manga
right.
book. People have to read it like that. I keep saying that. If you're gonna read this like a regular American Western sort of comic, you're probably gonna disappoint yourself because that's just not the
Or a
story that's
typical
being told.
X-Men book,
Right.
because it's a solo title
Yeah.
and it's different.
Yeah.
And other solo titles currently, maybe except Phoenix, they have the other X-Men team that's still there.
Mhm.
They are still with the friends, but she's on her own and she's with Margot. That's Margot is, like Dotun says, Margot is a golden retriever. It's
Yeah.
just there to have fun.
Yeah.
Has anyone at Marvel talked to you about making a Storm omnibus?
I don't think I have as many issues yet.
If you were
Yeah.
I guess omnibuses are pretty big. And she doesn't, you have the longest run she's ever had.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have enough issues yet.
No, we have longest issues greenlit, but not come out yet.
Yeah, I'm talking about collectively with all of her runs. It's still not enough to make an omnibus yet.
Oh, it's if you remove the mini series and just go ongoing, currently we have 11 plus This one is currently 15.
Mhm.
11 plus 15, that's
Yeah.
26. I think that's enough.
That's enough. Yeah, because
That's
She-Hulk's is
That's enough for
25.
omnibus.
Her recent
Well,
one is 25.
those are trades, though. I'm talking about an omnibus.
Right.
I'm talking
So, like all those 50 issues kind of
Omnibus.
thing.
Yeah. Well,
They
they're a
will
little
have to add a lot of mini series, but even those mini series are not, they're like 4 issues.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
stuff.
fit. I think by the time we get to 30, we'll get one. Because that's what they did with She-Hulk. She-Hulk's current omnibus, I think, is like 25. It's the first 15 from the first run, and then when they relaunched it, there was another 10. So they're collecting that as an omnibus.
So that's the goal, everybody. We need to get this run in a position where there's enough issues because it's our 50th anniversary. That's what we're celebrating right now. She deserves an omnibus, but she has to have more issues to fill it. And that's where all of you come in. Again, please, if you haven't already, pre-order the issues. That is literally your vote for the series to keep going. It's fun for us to walk into the stores on Wednesday, pick it up off the shelf and take a picture of it and post it on social media. But that does not help Maria, does not help the book continue, does not help the fandom enjoy the book for the future. Pre-ordering those books is what does so. So please emphasize that enough. And one last thing, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. With that, Maria, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for supporting the book. I appreciate everything.
Looking forward to issue 8. Antoine, always a pleasure, sir.
Likewise.
All right. Chat, thank you for your participation. Keep up the good work. Keep the book going. Talk amongst each other. We're family. You guys are family. I don't want to say us versus the world, but you know what I mean.
Let's stick
Comic,
together.
we got you.